subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
And Ivan's strength was only circulated among several deans. There was no need to doubt the character of the professors. Even Snape never leaked a word. Hermione was the same. The little witch was a sensible and good girl, and she kept Ivan's secrets to herself. However, because of her identity as an obscure, Hermione always had a tendency to burst out of maternal love and subconsciously wanted to take care of Ivan, as if he might leave her at any time. This made Ivan laugh and cry, and also a little moved. Fortunately, after Ivan's persuasion, Hermione gradually returned to her original state, and the two continued to take Neville to the library, the cafeteria, and the dormitory. If there must be something wrong, after a month, Quirrell always deliberately or unintentionally inquired about what happened that night. Voldemort asked him to investigate the owner of the terrifying magic, and Quirrell had some guesses. However, when he was about to ask Snape, he was ruthlessly rejected by the professor, who also gave him a set of wall plus intimidation services. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Snape, or do you think you are very powerful and want to help protect Hogwarts? Quirrell was scared to death by Snape. As for the other professors, whether it was McGonagall or Flitwick, how could they betray Ivan? One by one, they had already communicated privately, and they had been playing Quirrell around. So what did you investigate this month? After returning, Quirrell was severely punished by Voldemort for his incompetence. Waste. You waste. Poor Professor Quirrell. It's bad enough that he didn't find out anything, but he was the only one injured in the whole class. Ivan still remembers that when Professor Quirrell came to the defense against the dark arts class that day, his face was frighteningly pale. If you don't know, you might think it's a corpse, not 830 living people. This magic is so difficult. Hermione, please teach me again. In Ivan's dormitory, Parvati sighed for her own stupidity. She has been in Ivan's study group for more than half a month. Parvati has good talent. Although she can't compare with Hermione, she can definitely reach an upper middle level as a first-year wizard. However, she met a top student like Hermione. Am I stupid? Parvati originally thought she was quite smart, but compared with Hermione, she was nothing. How could it be? Hermione hurriedly said, "You just didn't find the trick." Hermione actually didn't have many friends in Hogwarts. Among the girls in the dormitory, Parvati had the best relationship with Hermione, followed by Lavender. Unfortunately, Lavender was not very interested in learning. Don't worry, Parvati. Cast it again and let me see. Hermione began to teach Parvati patiently, while Ivan sat on the side, reading quietly. Neville recited the text seriously over and over again, but his memory is so bad that he often forgets what he has just memorized. Alas, Ivan really can't do anything with Neville. In the past 2 months, Ivan has thought about how to help Neville. They are the only roommates, and Neville is so honest. To put it bluntly, with a friend like Neville, you can trust him with your back. Even if you really encounter a life-and-death crisis, Neville will use his body to block the death curse for Ivan. If nothing else, just this point is worth my careful training. Ivan has long regarded Neville, Abt, as his future team. Since I have chosen Gryffindor as the college, I must manage this basic base well. Hermione and Neville. Ivan is not so utilitarian. He can't really use Neville to take the blame. In fact, Parvati is the first guinea pig in Ivan's talent training plan. Indeed, Gryffindor has many troublemakers and is nicknamed Save College by teachers. But we have to admit that the students of the College of Reckless Men really have courage that ordinary people can hardly imagine. Who is the pioneer of the world? There are many different opinions on this issue. The more universal view is that everyone is an indispensable part of the progress of civilization. However, if Ivan were to choose, he would probably choose the brave. It is precisely because of the sacrifices of countless brave men that legends have been left behind, creating the glory of human civilization. And this is Ivan's intuitive impression of the Little Lions of Gryffindor. This is a group of brainless, reckless men who are not afraid of death. If you have something to do, they will really go. Is there any way to improve the thinking attribute? Ivan could be sure that Neville's condition is that his thinking is impaired. So as long as this problem can be solved, Neville's future magic road will be smooth sailing. Ivan has calculated Neville's magic talent, and his talent is definitely not inferior to Harry. You know, what level is Harry? That's the director of the Ministry of Magic's executive department, the boss of all the Aurors in England. If the peak combat power of each country is similar, then Harry and Neville are definitely two ministerial-level wizards. Their magic attainments may not be as good as McGonagall and Flitwick, but if they really fight, Harry, who is more at the peak of his ability, will win. After all, actual combat and magic attainments are not equal. Knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the dormitory door. Before Ivan put down his book, Hermione used magic to open the door. Come in. Harry stood outside the door. Good evening. Am I not late? He was holding 2 books in his arms, which were the textbooks of the Charms and Transfiguration classes. Yes, Harry was also a member of Ivan's study group. This matter started from the potions class after Ivan's decisive battle with Snape. Perhaps because he was defeated by Ivan, Snape always deliberately or unintentionally targeted Ivan in class and asked some questions about potion knowledge that were obviously beyond the scope. Ivan naturally couldn't answer all of them. This gave Snape the opportunity to sneer and take revenge for being beaten. Of course, Ivan was not afraid at all. You can sneer at me, and I won't pay attention to you. Anyway, Ivan's meaning was very clear: as long as you don't deduct my points, you are the professor and you are the boss of your class. Snape is not an unreasonable person. Although he vented his anger, the occasional potion knowledge he revealed did benefit Ivan a lot. The two of them had a tacit understanding and grasped the degree. On the surface, they competed with each other, but secretly gave each other enough face. Of course, this scene was completely different in Harry's eyes. Because Ivan shared the firepower, Harry's life in the potion class was much better, especially when he saw Ivan dare to confront Snape. Harry was so excited that he regarded Ivan as an idol, and he almost said, "Brother, you were the first in Hogwarts." Just in time, Harry. Ivan greeted Harry, and seeing that there was no one beside him, he asked, "Where's Ronald? Didn't he come with you?" Ronald is not feeling well. When mentioning Ronald, Harry's eyes flashed with disappointment. Obviously, Harry had called Ronald, but he just didn't want to come. And from the looks of it, they seemed to have a conflict. I see. Ivan didn't comment. He didn't care whether Ronald came or not. Harry gave Ivan a good impression, but Ronald was a little bit off. How to say it? Perhaps Ronald in the original book provided Harry with a lot of help. But here, Ronald is Harry's little follower. He has an average talent for magic, an average attitude towards learning, and he is unwilling to work hard. The first few times he followed Harry to participate in the study group, he couldn't calm down at all and looked restless. Let him be. Children can't calm down, like to play, and don't like to study. Ivan has been mentally prepared for these. Ivan doesn't care about these, and he doesn't lack 1 or 2 followers. The first-year wizards, the little wizards in Gryffindor College that Ivan can take seriously, are basically here. We already have Hermione and Harry. What else do we need? Ivan shook his head and put the book back in place. It's almost time. Ivan stood up from his seat, turned a cookie into a blackboard, and began teaching this study session. Everyone, please sit down first. Ivan turned his wand into a teaching ruler, pointed at the words on the blackboard, and said, "What we're going to talk about today is the meaning of the marks drawn by the wand when casting a spell. Ivan's magic attainments are not better than those of several professors. But what he has to do is targeted tutoring, which is much easier than professors facing hundreds of students. Like Professor McGonagall teaching Transfiguration to little wizards, she has to consider 6 or 7 grades and prepare teaching plans according to the little wizards at different stages. This makes it impossible for Professor Cat to understand the foundation and problems of every little wizard. In contrast, Ivan will give special corrections based on the mistakes made by everyone when casting spells. He also designed a set of practice plans for them and explained the tricks of each magic in a way that the young wizards could understand. There have always been few people in the study group. Some people only came once or twice and then never came again. The only 4 people who can really persevere and are regarded as regular members by Ivan are Hermione, Neville, Harry, and Parvati. In this way, after a month of study, except for Neville, the magic level of Harry and others has really improved a lot. At least they no longer need to be submissive in class, but can strike hard and become Gryffindor's scoring machine. Harry's progress is visible to the naked eye, which makes Ronald more stressed. Chapter 63. The House of Requests. Today's learning ends here. Everyone, remember the trick of the wand trajectory, and it will be much easier to cast any magic in the future. Soon, Ivan's class for today ended. Q&A time begins. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Parvati did not ask questions immediately, but cast the magic again according to what Ivan said today. I succeeded. Looking at the levitation spell she cast, Parvati was excited. No wonder your levitation spell failed, Parvati. Hermione was deeply impressed by Ivan's knowledge of magic. So this is the problem. Ivan is really worthy of it. He solved the problem so quickly, especially after witnessing the battle that night. Ivan's image was infinitely magnified in the little witch's heart. Many times, Ivan's words were even more important than those authoritative books. Then shall we go back and rest? Harry looked at the time and found that Ivan finished class half an hour earlier than usual today. This was different from his usual habits. So Harry thought that Ivan might have other arrangements. Harry, it seems that you are the one with the best observation among all of them. Harry just smiled when he got Ivan's compliment. The longer he was with Ivan, the more he understood his friend's character. Ivan was very gentle and humble. He just liked to make some jokes and tease you occasionally. For example, Ivan often teased Harry with Malfoy, saying that they might have been a couple in their previous life. Otherwise, why would they love and hate each other as soon as they met? I admit that they killed each other, but what the hell is love? So, what are we going to do next? Hermione claimed to be the person who knew Ivan best. But since Harry came, our savior had a tendency to replace her and become the person Ivan trusted the most. The little witch was full of crisis, and she didn't dare to let Ivan and Harry be alone recently. Come to think of it, we have been in Hogwarts for almost 2 months, right? Ivan saw the 4 little wizards nod, so he lowered his voice and said, "Have you ever seen a night tour?" "Night tour?" Hermione exclaimed, but she immediately covered her mouth, then carefully checked the door to make sure it was closed. "Ivan, night tours are strictly prohibited. We can't do things that violate school rules, or we will be deducted points." "Hermione, are you afraid of deductions?" Hermione was indeed afraid, but she didn't want to show cowardice in front of Ivan. She was a witch who wanted to protect Ivan and fight alongside him. "It's just a mere deduction of points. Hermione is not afraid." "Wait a minute," Harry asked curiously. "Ivan, are you going to take us on a night tour?" "Why not?" Ivan found that Harry and Parvati's eyes lit up when they heard about the night tour. But Neville, the Gryffindor sword master, obviously needs experience. He was already worried about what would happen if he was caught before the night tour even started. Ahem. After speaking tough, Hermione's natural fear of school rules once again took the upper hand. "I think we need a plan for the long term. At least be prepared to avoid being caught for night tours." By the way, Hermione looked at Ivan. "If we are caught, will Professor McGonagall handle it impartially?" The subtext is, "Ivan, you're Professor McGonagall's favorite student. With the older cat, let us go for your sake. It's best not to be caught by Professor McGonagall. Even if it falls into Snape's hands, it's better than falling into Professor McGonagall's hands." Ivan said awkwardly, "Everyone in Hogwarts knows that our dean is ruthless. What should we do then?" "Of course, don't get caught." Ivan smiled. "As long as we don't get caught for night tours, it doesn't violate school rules. Don't get caught." Hermione held her forehead helplessly. There was no way. Hermione felt that what Ivan said made sense, and she couldn't find any reason to refute it. What did she do? If Ivan was going, did she have any other choice but to go with him? "Add me." Harry was eager to try. "George and Frere had mentioned this to me more than once." "Can you take me with you?" Parvati said timidly. But in fact, she was very excited. "I actually always wanted to take a night tour." How could the little lion of Gryffindor resist the temptation of adventure? The two of them couldn't wait. "Neville." Finally, only Neville was left. Ivan looked over, and the boy nodded firmly. "I'll go with you." "Very good. Then next, it's time to make plans and goals." Ivan said, "Tonight, Let's go back to our respective dormitories and meet in the common room after 11 o'clock. Where are we going? On the 8th floor, next to the tapestry where the troll beat Barnabas with a club. Ivan set a location, but the young wizards didn't understand the meaning of this place. But anyone who has read Harry Potter should know that there is a mysterious room at this location, namely the Room of Requirement. After Ivan's teaching, the progress of the young wizards is visible to the naked eye. He thinks it's time to increase the amount of training and start actual combat training. There is no tutorial in this area at Hogwarts. No, it should have been, but because of a noseless curse, the course was directly killed. The defense against the dark arts class is actually a practical exercise, allowing young wizards to solve various dangers and troubles that they may encounter in life through magic. But Professor Quirrell is a fake. His class, let alone nutrition. Ivan suspected that he did it on purpose, in order to lower the level of the young wizards in Hogwarts and reduce the difficulty for Voldemort to conquer the British wizarding world. Time passed quickly. After the young wizards went back, Ivan chatted with Neville for a while, and then gathered with Hermione, Harry, and Pa in the lounge. Are you all here? Ivan was relieved Hermione and Parvati. Harry, on the other hand, was surprised to see that he could come out silently. Ronald and the others? No reaction? Ahem. Harry coughed awkwardly and said, well, Ronald and the others sleep very deeply at night, and they can't be woken up under normal circumstances. Okay. Ivan didn't know how to complain. Should I say that the young wizards of this class are really not vigilant? But on second thought, this is Hogwarts, not the wild. Everyone can be so assured. It is the confidence that Hogwarts brings them. Okay, let's go. Ivan cast an incarnation spell on the 4 people. With a burst of coolness pouring down from the top of their heads, the figures of the 5 people disappeared in the lounge. No, disappeared. I disappeared too. Where are you? Ouch. Harry, you stepped on my foot. Ah, sorry, Neville, I didn't see. Among the 4 little wizards, only Hermione was calm and knew that it was the disillusionment charm. In contrast, it was the first time for Harry and others to see this magic. The disillusionment charm, a spell that can make people invisible. Hermione explained, but this magic can't completely erase the figure. If you get closer, others can actually see it. The disillusionment charm is more like the transformation of a chameleon, which becomes transparent, but not completely invisible. However, Hermione soon found something wrong. What? Hermione was extremely shocked at this moment, because she found that she couldn't see the light and shadow of other people at all. You know, at such a close distance, it is impossible for the flaw of the disillusionment charm to be discovered. But the problem is that no matter how Hermione observes others and herself, she only gets one fact. They are really invisible. Is this the disillusionment charm that you improved, Ivan? Ivan did not hide it and said frankly, I slightly corrected some details of this magic and optimized it. What does it mean to slightly correct it? Is this human language? Optimizing the spell casually is simply against the sky. As long as you don't exercise vigorously, my disillusionment charm will be like a real invisibility cloak, and no trace can be found. The principle is not complicated. In fact, Ivan inserted a memory for memory in this spell. This memory allows people to briefly record the surrounding environment when they move, slow down the sense of disharmony caused by distortion, and reduce the probability of exposure. However, if they move too fast, the small memory will not be able to handle it, causing the light and shadow on the body to flow. Even so, he is very powerful. Harry never thought that spells could be improved. Even though he saw Ivan's improved magic one after another, he still did not break the rules. It can only be said that people are different. Harry is willing to learn all kinds of magic, but he does not intend to create or optimize magic. He is self-aware and knows that he is not cut out for this. Watch your feet, don't fall. Ivan and others are in invisible state. They are connected one by one, holding hands with each other to ensure that they do not fall behind. The night at Hogwarts is extremely quiet. Everyone walks in the corridor. The paintings on both sides have gone to bed. Only their footsteps echo faintly in this corridor. The little wizards did not ask, but just followed Ivan and kept moving forward. The whole process was not thrilling. They did not meet Filch, nor were they targeted by Mrs. Norris. They arrived at their destination without any twists and turns. With a flick of the wand, Ivan untied the disillusionment spell covering everyone. Is there anything here? Hermione looked around, but unfortunately found nothing. Could it be a secret passage? Parvati saw Ivan standing in front of the troll tapestry. I heard that Hogwarts has many secret passages. Ivan, you found a secret passage here. I dare not compare with the Weasley brothers in the ability to find secret passages. They are really amazing. Ivan told them one thing, that is, the Weasley brothers may have found 80% of the secret passages in Hogwarts. So many. Hermione, how many times have they wandered at night? Countless. Ivan, except for the first few times they were caught by Filch, they haven't been discovered for a long time, especially after finding the Marauder's map in Filch's drawer. The Weasley twins completely let themselves go. As long as you don't get caught, it's not a violation. Ivan said the words that the two always said, TSK, TSK. Two prank geniuses. You can't learn them. Hermione wanted to ask what was so good about this. She didn't want Ivan to become like the Weasley twins. Don't worry, I'm not that free. Pranks and such are not as interesting as studying magic. I brought you here to prepare for the actual combat training later. Ivan patted Hermione's shoulder and told them the real purpose of tonight. Actual combat training? Harry and Parvati came later, so they didn't know Ivan's original plan. Now he heard about the actual combat. He was surprised. DX, Harry, there's nothing here. Ivan meant to take them out to find a place as a field for practical training. Ivan, don't keep us in suspense. Tell us quickly. The little witch was not used to the late night. Standing in the corridor on the 8th floor, she always felt uneasy that Filch would catch her at any time. Yeah. Ivan waved his hand at the 4 people. Everyone make way, and then watch what I do. Next, Ivan walked back and forth against the wall 3 times in the puzzled eyes of the 4 people. I need a room to practice spells, Ivan muttered as he walked. And just when Ivan walked the 3rd time, the ancient Japanese door began to slowly emerge on the empty wall. The 4 little wizards looked at each other. They really didn't expect that there was such a magical secret passage here. This is also a secret passage. This is not a secret passage. Ivan stood in front of the door and smiled. It is the Room of Requirement. Hermione, you should have heard of it. Room of Requirement. This is the Room of Requirement. Hermione was surprised. I always thought it was just a legend, made up by little wizards in the past, but I didn't expect. She really couldn't imagine that the Room of Requirement was in this place. I'll tell you secretly, even the Weasley brothers couldn't find this room. So what is the Room of Requirement? Harry and Neville, one is ignorant, and the other really can't remember anything. The Room of Requirement, also known as the Room of Coming and Going, Parvati explained, because this room can only be entered when a person really needs it. It sometimes appears and sometimes disappears, but when it appears, it is always arranged to meet the needs of the person seeking help. That's true. Ivan pointed to the door behind him and said, the way to enter the Room of Requirement is very simple. Just walk through this wall 3 times while thinking about the room you need in your mind. The room you need, Ivan said. If you want to go to the toilet, you will find that this place has become a toilet. If you want something, it will become a warehouse. Then Ivan, your wish just now at a room for practicing magic. Let's go in and take a look. Ivan pushed open the door of the Room of Requirement. If nothing unexpected happens, there should be everything we need inside. After the voice fell, the 4 little ones couldn't help it and immediately swarmed in. This is a spacious room with torches lit inside, like an underground classroom. There's a row of wooden bookshelves along the wall. There are no chairs on the floor, but there are large satin cushions. On the shelf at the other end of the room are various instruments such as peepscopes, secret detectors, and a large magic mirror with cracks. What are these? The little wizards looked at the room curiously, and Ivan explained casually. The cushions are used when practicing the coma spell. What about these mirrors? A kind of black magic detector. The small one is called a peepscope, and the large one is a magic mirror. Ivan closed the door and said, the inside and outside of the Room of Requirement are independent, which means that as long as we close the door, No one outside can detect what happens inside. That's great. Harry, this is simply the best place to practice spells. Everyone, come and see the bamboo basket. Hermione seemed to have discovered something, and everyone came forward. They saw that there were bookshelves in the room, which were filled with various books related to spells and defense against the dark arts. Common spells and countermeasures, victory over the dark arts, self-defense spells, fighting poison with poison. The little witch's hand stroked the spines of these books, and the excitement in her tone could not be concealed at all. Okay, Hermione, there will be plenty of time later. Ivan patted the little witch's head, indicating that she should forget about these magic books. He sat on the mat with the four of them and said, "From now on, we will gather here every Friday night to practice magic together." At night, is it the same as tonight? Harry was worried that he would be caught if he went out at night, and he didn't know the disillusionment charm. Thinking about it this way, Harry felt that he seemed a little pitiful. Parvati was with Hermione, Neville could follow Ivan, and only he was pitiful, weak, and helpless. Chapter 64. Secret Base and Organization. Tonight, I just bring you here to find a position. Ivan said, "Every Friday night in the future, as long as you are free, you can come here to practice magic at any time. Just don't be discovered by others." Ivan doesn't care much about the room of requirement. Even if he is discovered, it's no big deal. After all, with Ivan's strength, if he wants to seize the practice room of the room of requirement, it will be useless even if the senior students come. Snape was beaten by me. Ivan, what's the point of a senior wizard? At most, he will take the wand and complete the achievement of single-handedly brushing the entire Hogwarts. I will pay attention. Harry is getting closer to Ivan and Hermione now, and is gradually alienated from the little wizard who shares his dormitory with him. Ronald said it before. Harry's other two roommates are Seamus and Dean. The former is a famous explosion maniac in Hogwarts, and any magic he casts will become a small explosion spell. Dean, full name Dean Thomas, is a dark-skinned half-blood wizard. Ivan didn't quite understand the dormitory arrangement of Hogwarts. Harry could have another roommate, but Neville was allowed to share a dormitory with him. Could it be that they didn't want a certain boy to be separated out? 6 boys were divided into 4 and 2 groups. Harry, just be careful. If you're really discovered, it's nothing. Ivan said, "Although I discovered the room of requirement, it does not belong to us, but is the property of Hogwarts." Of course. At this point, Ivan gave everyone a cryptic look. Before that, "This is our secret base." Hearing about the secret base immediately gave everyone a sense of belonging. They kept the same secret, which brought them closer to each other, and there was an illusion that they were all in the same group. Okay, that's all for tonight. Let's go back. B-Carrot, Parvati suddenly asked, "Since it's a secret base, should we give it a name?" For a moment, the 4 of them looked at Ivan. Obviously, they also thought that Parvati's suggestion was very good. Many small groups in Hogwarts would give their groups a name, and even professors had their own clubs. Name, Ivan thought for a moment and said, "I heard that Professor Dumbledore once formed an organization to fight against the mysterious man." What is that? The 4 of them were a little curious, and they were even more fascinated by such an organization that brought together heroes. Order of the Phoenix. Ivan said, "Harry, your parents, and Neville's parents, they were once members of the Order of the Phoenix." Hearing that their parents had also joined the Order of the Phoenix, not only Harry, but even the usually dull Neville showed some yearning in his eyes. They didn't want to join the Order of the Phoenix. That was their father's organization, and it had nothing to do with them. What's more, with their current strength, it was impossible for them to join Dumbledore's organization. It's a little early to talk about an organization. Ivan felt that it was a little too early to establish an organization under Dumbledore's nose. But a study group, or a secret base, or a group like the Marauders, a small group of 4 people led by Harry's father, Dumbledore probably wouldn't care too much. Early. I think, Ivan, sooner or later, you will become a great wizard like Dumbledore. Parvati was in high spirits, and seeing this, Hermione subconsciously moved closer to Ivan. Yes, and Ivan also has a phoenix. Huh, it was the first time for the 3 of them to hear about this. Neville asked, "Ivan, do you have a phoenix too? Sorry, I want to ask, what is a phoenix? Harry blushed a little. He only heard the word phoenix, but didn't know what a phoenix was. Hermione, that's not a phoenix, it's a phoenix. They may have a certain kinship, but they are not the same magical creature, Ivan said as he drew out his wand and released the phoenix, a magical bird made of magical flames. In the originally dim room, candlelight rose, and the red gold light illuminated every corner and enveloped everyone. Ah, so warm, his cries sounded like singing, so nice. So beautiful. Harry and the others praised the beauty of the phoenix from the bottom of their hearts. But they didn't know that the phoenix now was more like a combination of magic and soul. It would take 1 or 2 years to truly recover from the flames, even with Ivan as the source of magic. After taking back the magic phoenix, the warm flame began to dissipate, which made the community teachers quite reluctant. It's not bad to give it a name, but it's not an organization, but a small group that belongs to us. Compared with the organization, Ivan felt that the team of only a few people was more like a club or a club in the school. What do you think is a good name? Brainstorming and letting everyone come up with a name together can make people feel more belonging. Since we have a phoenix anyway, why not call it the Phoenix Society? Harry made his own suggestion, but unfortunately Hercules and Pava did not follow Dumbledore's idea. Especially Parvati, who was born in a high caste in India, believed that Ivan's future achievements would never be worse than Dumbledore. And even better, now the whole Hogwarts is spreading Ivan's surname. Ambrosius, a descendant of Merlin, an eternal family. Isn't this much better than Dumbledore? Not so good. The Order of the Phoenix sounds like a branch. Parvati shook her head. Although you and Neville's parents have joined the Order, Harry, our team is not a vassal of the adults. Her meaning was very clear. The leader of the group was Ivan, not Dumbledore. I think Parvati is right. Even Neville, who had always been here, agreed with this. Since entering school, Ivan has really given Neville too much help and care. In Neville's memory, apart from his grandmother, Ivan is the first person who treats him so well. If Ivan wants to recruit followers and does not despise his incompetence, Neville will definitely join at the first time. Okay. Being rejected, Harry was not upset. He thought about it and found that what Parvati and Neville said made sense. What about Hermione? Do you have any good ideas? Me? Hermione saw the 4 people looking at her and said, Ivan, do you still remember the surprise when we first came into contact with magic? Of course. Not only Ivan, all young wizards, especially those from the Muggle world, will never forget the moment they received the admission notice to Hogwarts. Not to mention this world where magic really exists. Even in Ivan's previous life, there were countless people who longed for the owl that delivered the letter. I don't know what this group should be called, but I hope that every companion who joins this big family can experience the mystery of magic. The little witch believes that magic should bring surprises and happiness to people. It's that simple. Happiness. Ivan smiled slightly. Hermione's idea was very simple, but he didn't hate it. Finally, Ivan named their new group the Mysterious Side based on the little witch's longing for magic. The Mysterious Side, or the Magic Side. It corresponds to the Muggles who can't cast spells, just like the magic world in the eyes of ordinary people, full of mystery, unknown, and incredible. The Mysterious Side is to protect the magic world in our hearts. We learn magic not to hurt anyone or oppress anyone. Ivan established the theme for his group. But to enrich ourselves, let magic bloom with more brilliant colors and make the world a better place. In order to protect the magic world in their hearts, let magic bloom with more brilliant colors. Ivan's words really made the 4 little wizards immersed in beautiful fantasies. Everyone, never forget the joy you felt when you received the acceptance letter. Ivan, what we have to do is to pass on this joy from generation to generation. We will. It seemed as if a flame was burning in Harry's heart. It's great to protect the magical world in my heart. As the savior of the wizarding world, Harry not only did not enjoy this glory, but was cautious, fearing that he would do something wrong and ruin the reputation that his parents had earned with their lives. Because of Ivan's appearance, Harry did not know that Voldemort was still alive and did not regard the elimination of Voldemort as the meaning of existence. Until Ivan's insights, the fog in Harry's heart completely dissipated. Thinking back on his life for the past 11 years, the bullying and humiliation of his aunt's family, Harry will never forget that night when Hagrid appeared and knocked on the door between him and a magical world. Let this joy be passed on. Is there a better wish than this? Parvati's face flushed, and her excitement was no less than Harry's, and so was Luwei and Hermione. My Ivan is good in everything, but he is too dazzling. The little witch is really worried now. She is afraid that Ivan will be kidnapped by other little witches at any time. No, Hermione secretly clenched her fists. I must work harder. Ivan is right. Only by constantly enriching herself and improving her magic level can she get better and better until she is qualified to stand with her friends. I will not be left behind by you, never. That night, the four little wizards tossed and turned in bed. They remembered the night of school enrollment, when Ivan lit the way ahead and led them through the dark forest. When a mandrake screamed shrilly, it was Ivan who protected them. There was also the flying class. Ivan just stood there, and Xiao Zhang forgot the fear of the sky. No need to be confused. No need to be afraid. No need to hesitate. As long as they follow him closely, they will be fearless. So, they are undoubtedly insomniac. Hermione. The next day, Ivan got up early as usual and then asked the little witch to go to breakfast together. Ivan looked at the little witch with messy hair and dark circles under her eyes, and his face was surprised. What's wrong with you? Didn't you sleep well last night? No, it's okay. Hermione didn't want to admit that she was too excited last night, and her mind was full of Ivan's figure, which made her fall asleep at 3 or 4 in the morning. If it weren't for the work and rest habits she had developed in the past 3 months, Hermione couldn't get up at all. Soon after, Parvati and Harry also walked downstairs with dark circles under their eyes. Because of the study plan, the biological clocks of the two people have recently begun to move closer to Ivan and Hermione. As for Neville, the child's brain is already confused enough. If he works harder, Ivan is really worried that Neville will suffer from Alzheimer's disease at a young age. You two too, what's the situation? Ivan's fingers passed in front of the 3 people. 3 people suffering from insomnia together? Have you made an appointment? Puff. Hearing Ivan say this, Hermione also saw the dark circles under Parvati's eyes and couldn't help laughing out loud. Ha ha, hey, Hermione. Parvati was very angry and went up to wrestle with Hermione. It was all about last night. Harry said awkwardly, because I was too excited, I couldn't sleep all night. He wouldn't say that a few minutes ago, he fought side by side with Ivan in his dream and defeated the Dark Lord who killed his parents. Well, it was mainly Ivan who was the output. As for Harry, he was just cheering for Ivan on the side. Beat him. Good job. Ivan, poke him to death with your wand. When Harry thought of the words he shouted in his dream, he felt his face burning. Chapter 65, Unbalanced Ronald, forget it. Ivan was unsure of the 3 people's specific situation. Fortunately, tomorrow is Halloween, so they can rest. So there are only morning classes today. As long as they can get through the day, they can have a good rest. Remember to make up for the sleep in the afternoon, and don't miss the Halloween party in the evening. There's a spell class today. According to Professor Flitwick's lesson plan, they should learn the levitation spell. Levitation spell. Also, Halloween. Ivan, who returned from the cafeteria, was stunned for a moment. I remember that in the original book, Halloween Eve seemed to have never been peaceful. Halloween Eve at Hogwarts seemed to be cursed, and something happened almost every year. This year, Quirrell will release the troll to divert the professor and Dumbledore's attention and sneak into the door room on the 4th floor. Ivan is very interested in the Philosopher's Stone. He has not forgotten that he still has a main task of refining the Philosopher's Stone. However, Dumbledore probably hasn't put the Eris magic realm in yet. This also means that the Philosopher's Stone is likely still in Dumbledore's hands. Let's not talk about Quirrell getting nothing. Even if Dumbledore really put the Philosopher's Stone in, can Ivan break the spell of Eris? Only those who want to get it, but don't want to use it can get the Philosopher's Stone. This requirement is actually quite demanding. First of all, you have to get it, but your purpose cannot be related to the power of the Philosopher's Stone. That is, you can't have the desire to turn stones into gold and live forever. Ivan doesn't have this need, but he also needs the Philosopher's Stone for research. Wanting to research is also a need. So, Ivan thinks he shouldn't be able to get the Philosopher's Stone. The four left the Gryffindor lounge and smelled a sweet fragrance as soon as they went out. What a nice smell. It's the smell of roasted pumpkin. The smell of pumpkin made the little wizards hungry, but Ivan was better. Everyone hurried to the hall and enjoyed the various candies and desserts prepared by the elves of Hogwarts for Halloween. After dinner, everyone went their separate ways. Ivan was going to wake Neville up and bring some breakfast for the child. After so many years in the orphanage, Ivan had already developed the habit of taking care of young children. To Ivan, the shy Neville was like a younger brother in the orphanage. He was chubby and silly and would be bullied by others if he was not careful. See you later, Ivan. See you later. Hermione and Parvati were going to catch up on their sleep. Otherwise, they were really afraid that they would suddenly fall asleep in the middle of the spells class. Harry. On the other side, Ronald saw Harry coming in and said, "Is Ivan teaching you so early? He really loves to study." Harry felt that Ronald's words were a bit weird, but he didn't think much about it and handed over the breakfast he brought back from the hall. Halloween food is mostly candy and snacks, which are very suitable for takeout. I saw Ivan brought breakfast to Neville, so I thought I'd bring you some too. After hearing what Harry said, Ronald, who was about to take the food, froze there, frowning slightly. "What's wrong with you recently?" "What?" Ivan. Ronald felt very jealous. "Harry, why do you keep talking about him?" "Ronald." Harry was very puzzled. He could hear the complaint in Ronald's words. I just think he's great." If it was Harry a few years later, Ronald dared to say this, he would be angry back in a minute. But Harry had just left the Dursleys for 2 months, and for friends, especially Ronald, whom he first met, Harry instinctively chose to accommodate. I admit that I'm imitating him. Harry wanted to ease the relationship between Ronald and Ivan, and said, "But Ivan does have a lot to learn from, right?" Harry felt that he had neglected Ronald recently. His good friend was dissatisfied with this, and Harry felt it was understandable. But what was going on with this strange conversation? Ronald was upset about this, and Harry felt very strange. "Are you talking about Ivan?" Simo and Andy heard the quarrel between the two and joined the conversation. "Ronald, are you jealous?" Andy said speechlessly, "This is so funny." "What's funny? Isn't it funny?" Faced with Ronald's questioning, Andy was not afraid at all. "Ivan is not on the same level as us." "Are you jealous of Dumbledore's powerful magic and the Minister of Magic's high position and power?" Unlike Ronald, Andy has no bad feelings towards Ivan. On the contrary, Andy has also received Ivan's guidance in various classes. Even Seamus, thanks to Ivan's help, can occasionally cast a few correct magic. Well, from the original 100% explosion, it has become 2 out of 10 times that can cast successfully. Think about it, Ronald. Seamus shook his head and said, "Ivan is a genius. We're just ordinary people." To be honest, Seamus, Andy, and Harry, they are not jealous of Ivan's talent at all. Ivan is not Malfoy. Seeing the other 2 friends supporting him, Harry also had the confidence. Malfoy is so annoying. If he also has Ivan's talent, that would be terrible. Hey, Harry, don't compare Malfoy with Ivan. Yeah, Ivan is such a good person. Ivan is very popular among the first-year wizards and professors. Not to mention Gryffindor. Even Slytherin has a group of wizards who secretly worship Ivan and regard him as an idol. He has ability and a good personality. When you encounter difficulties, he will find a way to help you. What is there to be jealous of such a person? That's right. Harry just wanted to give a thumbs up to the 2 of them. When Ivan taught them magic, he didn't hide anything. He was completely targeting the shortcomings of the wizards and corrected them specifically. Anyway, everyone who has received Ivan's guidance has made visible progress. I heard that some seniors have asked Ivan for advice. Andy changed the subject and began to share the gossip he got from the Weasley brothers. Really? Seamus, that's amazing. Ronald felt uncomfortable watching everyone praising Ivan. He didn't know why. Ivan was so outstanding and dazzling, and he had never done anything to him, but Ronald was jealous. Maybe it was because of Harry? He was originally the best friend of the Savior, but he found that he was beginning to alienate himself, so he felt a sense of crisis. Actually, we could go together. Harry patted Ronald's shoulder. Didn't you successfully complete the transfiguration homework last time because of Ivan's insights into spells? He is very powerful, but Ronald also calmed down. The reason why he didn't want to contact Ivan was because he always felt ashamed in front of Ivan. Of course, Ivan had no grudges against Ronald, and he welcomed any aspiring wizard who wanted to improve. What really made Ronald uncomfortable was the follower who stayed by Ivan's side all day long. Hermione, don't you think she's mean? Ronald could only point the finger at Hermione. I've never seen such an annoying little witch, arrogant, conceited, and likes to show off her knowledge. The previous study sessions were like this. Hermione pointed out his mistakes in casting spells more than once, and she was quite straightforward. It's like treating me like a fool. When Hermione was mentioned, no one supported her here. There was no way Hermione didn't have a good reputation in Xiaojing City. Especially the little witches of the 4 colleges. They gnashed their teeth at Hermione's monopolization of Ivan. Ivan obviously belonged to everyone, but Hermione wanted to stick to Ivan. Ronald didn't know these. He just didn't like Hermione and thought that nerds would eventually become like her. Is that so? Harry admitted that Hermione was very strict, like a smaller McGonagall, but not to the extent Ronald said. I'm also worried about you, afraid that you will become like that. How could that be? Harry felt that Ronald was too paranoid, and the friends on the mysterious side were so good. Thinking of this, Harry implicitly revealed to Ronald that he hoped he could go with him next time. Harry hoped that Ivan could let Ronald join the mysterious side. If Ronald knew about the secret base of the Room of Requirement, he would definitely think it was cool. Anyway, I still have you, Harry. Ronald, as long as you learn it, you can teach me even if I don't go to the study session, right? Harry, that's right. Having said that, Harry still feels that being able to follow Ivan is a precious opportunity and should not be given up. Unfortunately, after venting his dissatisfaction, Ronald returned to his original state of slacking. There is no way. Harry can only give up inviting Ronald. He has to keep the secret for the mysterious side. Bring Ronald to Ivan and let him, the leader of the club, screen him. This is Harry's right as a member. Hermione and Parvati can do the same. But privately leaking the existence of the Room of Requirement is a bit too much. If this is not a study session, but an organization like the Order of the Phoenix that fights against evil. Harry's thoughts are simple. If he can leak secrets on this little thing, then who will believe him and tell him secrets in the future? What's wrong? In the spell classroom, Ivan rarely found Harry sitting alone, but Ronald ran to Seamus's row. You and Ronald quarreled? Yeah. Harry sighed helplessly and whispered, I originally wanted to bring Ronald to see you. Oh. Ivan understood what Harry meant. This was the joining process they had formulated. Ronald wants to join. Of course, there is no problem. Ivan felt average about Ronald. He was obviously unwilling to work hard, but he was jealous of others. As long as Ronald worked hard, Ivan was willing to look at him differently. I know. Ivan, you won't reject Ronald. Harry looked back at Ronald sitting in the distance. The latter pretended not to see it and continued to chat with 830 Seamus. I won't get involved in your business. Ivan patted Harry on the shoulder. Come on, young man. The Savior team in the original book has already fallen apart. Hermione followed Ivan, and Harry missed the Savior training plan. The only one left, Ronald, was originally a dispensable character. I don't know if Quirrell will release the troll tonight, as in the original book. Ivan hoped Quirrell would do this. After learning magic for so long, I have to find a wild monster to practice with. Of course, Ivan is not the one who wants to practice with. With Ivan's current strength, an adult fire dragon can only be regarded as a warm-up. It is amazing that a mere giant monster can be killed by Ivan. What he meant by practice was Hermione, Harry, and the other 4. But Ivan did not force it. It is naturally good to find an opportunity to increase experience. But if there is no opportunity, Ivan will not deliberately calculate anything. Children, today we're going to learn the floating spell. In the spell class, Professor Flitwick explained the principle of the floating spell. Now, 2 people in a group, everyone chooses a teammate. In addition, Mr. Ambrosius, as usual, come to cover the floating spell for us. For a month, Professor Levi has been giving Ivan special treatment. This also led to Ivan never getting extra points in the classes of the professors of various subjects. There is no way. Anyone who has seen Ivan's performance that night and the standard spells he cast will probably not be surprised again. Later, Professor McGonagall suddenly had an idea and chose Ivan as an assistant in class to show transfiguration to the students with her. Other professors followed suit. Even Snape took the opportunity to make a fool of Ivan, making him a firefighter, ready to deal with various emergencies caused by other little wizards at any time. What can Ivan do? He is just an ordinary little wizard. So a week ago, in order to increase the difficulty of the challenge, Ivan directly challenged 3 professors, Snape, McGonagall, and Flitwick at the same time. As for the result, it must be that Ivan fell into a disadvantage and could only rely on Obscurus to barely resist. But Ivan didn't care at all. He only knew that while he was dueling, he gave Snape hit him hard. 1 against 3, Professor. Ivan couldn't hold back his smile, but he refused to admit it. I'm an adult wizard who can fight 3 of you deans, and I accidentally lost control of my magic and injured someone. It's reasonable, right? Snape, every time I lost control, the curse fell on him. If you tell him there's no trick, only a fool would believe it. Chapter 66, if you step on your right foot with your left foot, you can fly. The levitation charm is a magic that can make us float. Ivan tapped his wand on the desk in front of him. Then the tip of the wand slowly moved upwards, and the desk also rose into the air. He stopped the desk in the air a height of 1 meter and cast a levitation charm on the feather, making it float up little by little. This is the levitation charm, which has 2 effects, floating and suspending. There is actually no difference between these 2 words in essence. What Ivan meant was that the levitation charm can make objects fly, or they can make objects stay still in the air. There is no flying magic in the wizarding world, but wizards don't have to worry about falling to death. Ivan said, because of the existence of the levitation charm, you can stop yourself in the air at any time and then slowly move up or down. So it is actually inaccurate that wizards can't do flying magic. The existence of the levitation charm allows wizards to easily float in the air that is not very high. Professor, I have a question. A little wizard from Ravenclaw raised her hand. It was Padma Patil, Parvati's sister. Excuse me. Flitwick and Ivan were interacting in class, which greatly strengthened the attention of the young wizards. If 2 people cast a levitation spell on each other, can they both fly? In fact, many young wizards have just thought of this question. Now that someone has raised it, it can just answer their doubts. In theory, this can be done. Flitwick said, but it is very difficult to do it in reality. The levitation spell is divided into one-time levitation and continuous levitation. Flitwick, the so-called one-time levitation, is to cast a spell on an object and let it stay there. Next, even if you don't control it, the object will not fall immediately. But in the same way, in this process, you can no longer control the object unless you cast a levitation spell on it again or use magic to pull it. Continuity means that the suspended object is pulled all the time to move according to the needs of the wizard. There is actually a special spell for this kind of movement called zombie floating. If 2 people use the levitation spell on each other and want to achieve the same effect as flying, it will definitely not be just staying in the air, but continuous controlled movement. Flitwick drew out his wand and motioned Ivan to try it with him. Ivan would not refuse. So a strange scene happened. When both parties cast a levitation spell on each other, trying to make each other float, they both lost control of the spell at the same time. Dig, bang! Professor Flitwick fell to the ground from the air, and Ivan was thrown out and hit the wall. Professor, Ivan, there was a commotion in the classroom. They were worried about the safety of the 2, and were very curious about this out-of-control phenomenon. Since Ivan came, professors are no longer as monotonous as before when teaching, and there are many new operations. Students are curious about this, and even professors themselves enjoy it very much. To stick to the old rules or to come up with something new. After discovering that the latter has better teaching effects, professors have changed their strategies one by one and chose to try new teaching concepts in the 1st grade. I'm fine. Ivan stood up and saw that Flitwick was not injured. So he said, I understand Two people can indeed float together by casting levitation spells on each other. But when one person is controlling, the other person will inevitably be affected and control the person in front. So, it's like two connected bodies that can never be still, and they will fly around in the air as long as they move. And so on. The same is true for 3 or 4 people. Yes, Flitwick. So one person needs to stay still and cast a spell on the other person. However, although this can avoid this problem, the height and distance that can be flown are very limited because the reaction speed of the levitation spell is too slow and it cannot be too far away from the caster. This makes it a fantasy for someone to take another person flying. Then, what if we cast a spell on our clothes and shoes? This question was raised by Harry. When Ivan saw Flitwick looking at him, he thought for a moment and replied, "First, this kind of floating is not considered flying at all because it is too slow. Second, the quality of the clothes needs to be guaranteed, otherwise it will cause harm to the body. Third, we have flying brooms and magic carpets, and it is not very meaningful to cast a spell on clothes." In summary, the floating spell is used for flying, which has many problems such as slow speed, slow reaction, poor control, and substitutability. And casting a spell on clothes is still relying on external forces, not real flying magic. Of course, there's a magical place in the floating spell, and I hope everyone can remember it. That is, when you fall from a high altitude, you can cast this spell at any time without worrying about being hurt. The levitation spell has a great advantage in this regard because its spell is levitation, not hovering. This means that no matter how fast you fall, as long as you have the levitation spell, you don't have to worry about inertia, and you won't fall apart because of sudden stagnation. Not only that, the levitation spell is a spell for the whole body. Ivan added, so even if the object we levitate is a box, the things inside the box will not be damaged. In this way, with the cooperation of Ivan and Professor Flitwick and the self-practice of the little wizards, a spell class on the levitation spell ended. After class, Ivan chatted with Professor Flitwick for a few more words. Then he left the classroom with Hermione, Parvati, and Neville who stayed behind. Harry wanted to chase Ronald, so he couldn't stay. Chase Ronald? Ivan was stunned, and Parvati explained, because of Hermione. Ivan, what's wrong with you? It has nothing to do with me, Hermione said angrily. I just corrected his pronunciation when casting the spell, and he was angry. It's inexplicable. Ivan thought of the scene in the original book. It's just that Hermione's personality should be much better under her own training. You can see that she gets along very well with Parvati, Neville, Harry, and others. Except Ronald. Hermione really hates Ronald, so she never treats him well. Sure enough, after listening to Parvati and Neville's description, Ivan knew the cause and effect. From the perspective of the two, Hermione did nothing. Ronald has poor psychological endurance and is in a bad mood. This is purely his own problem. I don't quite understand. Neville said, isn't it a very lucky thing to be in the same group with Hermione? Hey, Neville, what do you mean? Parvati, does being in the same group with me make you feel uncomfortable? No. Neville knew that Parvati was joking with him, but the shy boy thought about it and said his true thoughts. Actually, if possible, I want to be in the same group with Miss Abbott when I go to class with Hufflepuff in the future. Miss Abbott? Ivan frowned slightly. Is there anyone named Abbott in Ravenclaw? Suddenly, Ivan found that Hermione and Parvati were looking at Neville with a look of eating melon. Okay, Neville, Parvati said with a sly smile. You have already informed us in advance. There is no Abbott in the Charms class, but there are in the Herbology class and the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. Hermione also laughed at the side. Neville is telling us to be smart and not disturb him from getting close to the girl he likes. Wow, Ivan really didn't expect that Neville, with his thick eyebrows and big eyes, would also have a premature love affair. And surprisingly, Neville didn't refute it. Although he was blushing from the teasing of the two girls, he still insisted on speaking. We met in the History of Magic class. No wonder you always sit far away in the History of Magic class. Ivan patted Neville on the shoulder. Of course, he would support his good brother if he liked someone. 2. Suddenly, Ivan seemed to think of something. The ironclad Abbott? What ironclad? Ivan said quickly. Miss Abbott, Are you talking about Hannah Abbott from Hufflepuff? Good boy, after all these twists and turns, we are back again. I remember that in the original book, Neville was with Hannah Abbott. First grade, there is a second Abbott? Oh, I thought it was a senior year. Ivan teased Neville and said, "Look at Neville's temperament, a weak and pitiful little guy." I heard that many older seniors like this type. Neville almost cried when he heard this. Parvati and Hermione also said a few words to Ivan, asking him not to bully Neville. But don't say it. Although Neville is a little fat, he is very round. Many older sisters like to have such a bullied brother. Ivan. The four of them walked towards the Gryffindor Tower, talking and laughing all the way. Only halfway through, Professor McGonagall stopped them. "Excuse me, children," McGonagall said. "I want to borrow Ivan from you." Seeing this, Ivan immediately followed Professor McGonagall and asked, "What's the matter, Professor?" "Albus is looking for you." "Principal." Ivan didn't know what Dumbledore wanted to find him for. Tonight is Halloween Eve. I remember that during the last night class, Dumbledore said that he would have 2 days off and let him enjoy the atmosphere of the Concubine Festival. But now, Dumbledore came to find him again. Could it be because of the mysterious sighed? Ivan thought to himself, and soon followed McGonagall into the principal's office. "Albus, I brought Ivan here." "Oh, thank you for your hard work, Tsariva." Dumbledore was still kind and gentle. When he saw Ivan, he apologized first, saying that he shouldn't disturb Ivan's happy time. "Professor, you should just tell me what's going on." After 2 months of getting along, Ivan and Dumbledore have already become familiar with each other. Privately, they're like close friends regardless of age and don't talk nonsense. Is it because of the mysterious side? Ivan got straight to the point. He really couldn't think of any other reason for Dumbledore to find him. In fact, even if Dumbledore didn't ask, he would tell him about this disappearance. ABA, Dumbledore sighed. Protecting the magic world and bringing happiness to the younger generation. What a beautiful wish. How did you know? Ivan believed that his friends would never talk about this matter. Well, Dumbledore smiled and explained, "I am the headmaster, and every Hogwarts headmaster has his helpers." Is it the paintings? Ivan quickly guessed Dumbledore's spy in the school. He looked up and looked around at the headmaster's paintings on the wall. "It has nothing to do with me. I didn't tell on you, little Ivan." Mysterious sighed. "It seems that you, a little wizard, have great ambitions. The sorting hat must be broken. The kids should come to Slytherin." The headmasters talked about it. Some were trying to pass the buck, and some were curious about what Ivan was going to do. Ivan ignored them. Even if the paintings are very realistic, they are not real after all. They are just fragments of the creator's partial memory. They are good for preserving knowledge, but when it comes to future judgments, it is best not to trust them too much. "You remind me of someone." Dumbledore looked into Ivan's eyes and said, "No, 2 to be exact." "Let me guess." Ivan was not nervous. He moved a chair and calmly sat opposite Dumbledore. "One of them should be Voldemort, and the other one Grindelwald?" "I guessed half right." Dumbledore handed Ivan some candy. Seeing that Ivan was confused, he did not answer immediately. "Professor, are you worried that I will become the next Voldemort?" Ivan said this, but he was not worried at all. He believed that his soul attribute was extremely high, and Dumbledore had no ill will towards him. Ivan even felt that even if he went astray in the future, Dumbledore would not kill him. "How could that be?" "I just want to talk to you. You know, an old man over 100 years old doesn't have much to do on weekdays. He can only sit here and do nothing. It's really too boring." Seeing Ivan raise his eyebrows, Dumbledore quickly took back the topic. Okay. Little Ivan, you should be more patient. You see, I'm over 100 years old." "Professor, you look at most 99. Huh?" Seeing that Ivan could still joke, Dumbledore also laughed. Both knew that what they said just now was a joke. They usually teased each other more than just each other. "So, which half did I guess right?" Ivan asked. "Voldemort or Grindelwald. You shouldn't call that person by his name, little Ivan." Although Dumbledore said this, he didn't bring a blaming tone, just let him pay attention. Ivan is not afraid, but others will be afraid. There are many ways to prove courage. It's best not to choose those that will scare people. "Not that person," Dumbledore sighed. "I never thought that you and Tom have similarities." You are two completely different people. Sorry, Professor. Ivan said, I think we should still have similarities, such as both have great magical talents, and both are handsome. Ha ha! Dumbledore was amused by Ivan, but the old man had to admit that Ivan's appearance was really good. Tom's talent is excellent, but compared with you, little Ivan, it is still a little worse. Dumbledore never thought that Ivan would be the next Voldemort. Tom Riddle is the product of aphrodisiacs. He has extraordinary magical talents, but his heart has long been twisted. Voldemort does not understand love, does not know how to love, and does not believe in love. Dumbledore admitted that he had made a serious mistake in Voldemort's education. Voldemort longed for love, but he failed to discover this. If Dumbledore could have discovered it earlier, Voldemort might not have taken that path. At least he would not be as crazy as he is now. Ivan, do you know what the most powerful magic in the world is? It is love. Love is the most powerful magic in the world. And you, Ivan, Dumbledore, you know what love is. Ivan admitted that love does contain unimaginable magic. But isn't it a bit too corny for Dumbledore to say that? Chapter 67, The Philosopher's Stone, you mean. I see the shadow of Grindelwald in you, and I also see mine. Dumbledore's eyes flashed with nostalgia. He remembered the year and month when two talented young men made a covenant with their own blood and sweat, vowing never to hurt each other. Ivan scratched his head and said, the greatest black wizard and white wizard of this century. Should I say, it's my honor? The greatest black wizard? Dumbledore did not refute that he was the greatest white wizard of this century. Anyway, the whole world said so. Even if Dumbledore wanted to refuse, it had no choice but to accept it. In contrast, Ivan's statement that Grindelwald was the greatest black wizard made Dumbledore feel somewhat happy. Well, Dumbledore was indeed very happy, more pleasant than being praised himself. Yes, the greatest. Ivan said, especially Grindelwald's words. I think it makes sense. For the greater good. When Ivan said this, Dumbledore's heart obviously slowed down. Compared to Voldemort, I think Grindelwald is the dark wizard who deserves to be remembered. Grindelwald was not given the title of Dark Lord. He was a reformer who wanted to overthrow the statute of secrecy, not a complete murderer like Voldemort. I know Grindelwald killed many people. Ivan, he started a war and took countless lives. This is not right, and it's even worse. Ivan said this not to please Dumbledore, but because he really thought so. In Ivan's view, the population of the wizarding world is limited, and every wizard is a valuable resource. Killing is certainly refreshing, but the cost is too high. And compared to pureblood supremacy, Ivan wants to unify wizards all over the world and gather everyone's strength. Looking at the 11-year-old little wizard in front of him, pointing out the world and talking freely, Dumbledore had an illusion that the person sitting there was not someone else, but Grindelwald. The old man wanted to tell Ivan, for the greater good, this sentence was not originally created by Grindelwald. He was the first person to say this sentence. So 103, what about you? Gradually, Dumbledore regarded Ivan as another self, a younger and better self than him. He wanted to know Ivan's thoughts and what goals the little teacher in front of him had. The mysterious side seemed to be just a small study group. But at the beginning, Voldemort's Death Eaters and Grindelwald's saints were only one or two people. As the saying goes, a little sand makes a tower, and a spark can start a prairie fire. When Ivan's influence on Hermione and others became deeper and deeper, it would be difficult to turn back. The most important point, how to protect happiness. What is happiness? When they move forward with this goal, they will encounter obstacles sooner or later. What will Ivan and others do then? The simpler the concept, the more complex it is and the harder it is to achieve. Obviously, those children have not realized this. Granger, Longbottom, Patil, and Potter, Dumbledore, they're taking an unknown path under your influence. Do you want me to stop? F. Dumbledore shook his head and said, I just hope you can be more cautious. You are a kind child. I have always seen the help you give them. Dumbledore asked McGonagall what kind of person Ivan was in the orphanage. Professor McGonagall told him that Ivan was loved by everyone in the orphanage, especially knowing that Ivan used the power of magic, but still gave back to the orphanage. This gratitude is something Tom Riddle will never have. But I think you need to understand. Dumbledore, every time you choose someone, you have to bear something. Protect our world and pass on the most sincere happiness. That's great. What reason does Dumbledore have to stop Ivan and stop the dreams of the little teachers? More than 100 years ago, in that valley, didn't he and Grindelwald have the same dream? Ellis, Ivan looked into Dumbledore's deep sapphire eyes. The owner of the other shadow is you? Dumbledore said with emotion. It's really incredible, little Ivan. You have his foresight and charm, and a precious heart that I could not see at that time. If it was not clear that two men could not have children, Dumbledore would have doubted whether Ivan was a hybrid of the Grindelwald family and the Dumbledore family. There is no way. They're too similar. Ivan's prophecy and transformation talents, as well as his resonance with the phoenix spirit in the sycamore wand. The former is like the return of the Grindelwald family's bloodline, and the latter is the return of the Dumbledore family's bloodline. Ivan has better talents and higher personal charm than Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Ivan scratched his head awkwardly. Well, he himself has some doubts. The system extracts the best wizard bloodline in the Harry Potter world. In the original book, the best wizard is not Voldemort. Because Voldemort has experienced many magical transformations, his power comes from acquired, not innate. The truly amazing one should be Albus, Dumbledore, and Gellert Grindelwald. The two of them undoubtedly represent the two mountains of powerful bloodlines in the wizarding world. No way, it can't be true, right? Ivan is naturally not the child of Dumbledore and GG, but his bloodline may really be the product of the return of their two families to their ancestors and then the reintegration. Professor, I didn't think so much, Ivan said frankly. But no matter what the future holds, one thing is certain. What? Powerful, Ivan said. Only by being strong can we face possible problems. This is why he taught Hermione and others magical knowledge and established the secret base of the mysterious side. Yes, you are right. Dumbledore nodded, and he agreed with Ivan's opinion. I will try my best to improve their magical attainments. As for the future, we will know later. Ivan, let us worry about the future. His words were recognized by Dumbledore, and the old man chose to end the topic. He already knew Ivan's attitude. Others, that was not for him, an old man over 100 years old, to take care of. It's right to give some advice occasionally and give some experience to the old man. But Dumbledore didn't think he could make decisions. Times have changed, and he is old. The remnants of the old era only need to be given shelter before the new seeds grow into towering trees. "Oh, right," Dumbledore suddenly said. "I may have something to do recently and need to leave Hogwarts. So, can we suspend the evening classes?" To Dumbledore, "The classes still need to continue." "BB," Ivan was confused. "What do you mean by this sentence?" "I mean, when I leave Hogwarts, Ivan, can you protect the children here?" Ivan widened his eyes with an unbelievable expression. "Are you serious? Me? Protect Hogwarts?" Ivan felt that he had heard it wrong. "Shouldn't you tell Snape and Professor Cat about this? You're entrusting a little wizard who has just been enrolled for less than 2 months. What the hell? Ivan, who do you think is the most powerful in Hogwarts?" "Of course it's you." "What about me?" "Well, apart from Dumbledore, it seems that Ivan Ambrosius is the best fighter. I've said before that Ivan can remain undefeated under the siege of 3 top professors, McGonagall, Flitwick, and Snape. And if it's one-on-one, no dean is Ivan's opponent. Inexplicably, I have become the second best wizard in Hogwarts." Ivan did not think in this direction. After all, Hogwarts still has Dumbledore, the world's first white wizard, in front of him, and he is still a long way from the peak. However, the fact is that the only thing Ivan can't compare with is those great wizards who have surpassed the limits of human beings. But facing top human wizards like McGonagall and Snape, there's really a clear gap between the two sides. "Where are you going?" "Going to visit an old friend." "Dumbledore, do you know the Philosopher's Stone?" "Of course." Ivan didn't expect Dumbledore to be so straightforward. He even told Ivan clearly that Voldemort wanted to steal the Philosopher's Stone, and Nicholas Flamel entrusted the Philosopher's Stone to him. "Excuse me, the levels set up by the professors on the 4th floor can't stop adult wizards at all." Yes, that's right. Dumbledore never pinned his hopes on these fairy tale-like levels. He said, "The real magic used to protect the Philosopher's Stone is the magic I set up myself." Dumbledore's strength is unquestionable. Even if Voldemort at his peak came in person, he probably couldn't break the protective magic he set up. Therefore, whether the previous levels are easy or difficult is naturally irrelevant. The Philosopher's Stone. Here it is. Dumbledore took out a red, irregular gem from his pocket and then placed it in front of Ivan in surprise. Ivan didn't understand what Dumbledore meant. "Don't you want to take a look?" "Can you?" Ivan said, but his hand didn't stop at all, and he took the Philosopher's Stone in his hand. For a moment, Ivan's sharp magic perception clearly perceived the powerful magic power emitted by this small crystal. It's different, completely different. Ivan has never seen an alchemical item with such powerful magic. This thing is like a miracle. Opening the magic eye and the spiritual vision, Ivan carefully observed and analyzed it inside and out, trying to see through the essence of the Philosopher's Stone and find a way to refine it. Ivan did not forget that the first link of the main task required him to refine a Philosopher's Stone independently. Now, the finished product is in front of him, and Ivan can't help but be excited. "Professor, how did you know I wanted the Philosopher's Stone?" Ivan saw Dumbledore's intention. The latter smiled and said, "You applied to me to go to the restricted book area last time, and I noticed it at that time." Even though he got the borrowing slip for the restricted book area, Ivan did not choose those powerful black magic, but chose some advanced alchemy that almost no one would read. Thinking of Ivan's intelligence, Dumbledore quickly guessed his purpose. Of course, the paintings definitely played a big role in this. Ivan really wanted to complain. "How many spies have you planted in the school, old man? You already knew that what Harry and Hagrid brought back from Gringotts was the Philosopher's Stone?" "Yes." Ivan did not hide it. "In my eyes, I can see the future." "Is that so?" Dumbledore was silent for a while, and then said, "Okay, then happy Halloween. Go enjoy today's dinner point 11, Ivan was stunned for a moment. He looked at the Philosopher's Stone in his hand, and then looked at Dumbledore. Suddenly, Ivan realized something. "You don't want to take it back? Just treat it as my homework for you." Dumbledore smiled slightly. "I hope you can learn something next time we have class." "Yes." Dumbledore handed the Philosopher's Stone to Ivan. "Philosopher's Stone. This is the Philosopher's Stone that can make people immortal. Although there are various disadvantages, the name of the fifth element and the Philosopher's Stone cannot be false. It is the key point in the field of alchemy. Voldemort dreams of getting it." On the way back to the common room, Ivan touched the Philosopher's Stone in his pocket and still felt a little dreamy. "Old Dumbledore gave it to me directly." No matter what Dumbledore's purpose is, Ivan is really moved by this trust. "I can feel that he is not testing me. Ivan, he simply saw that I was interested in alchemy, so he gave me the Philosopher's Stone to study." Ivan never told anyone about the main task. But considering Dumbledore's erudition, he could see that Ivan was interested in the Philosopher's Stone, which was normal. "Professor, when will I not have it?" Before leaving, Ivan asked the last question. "When I ask you for it." Dumbledore told Ivan directly that he suspected that Voldemort was not dead, so he wanted to use the Philosopher's Stone as bait to lure him out. Ivan told Dumbledore that there was something wrong with Joe Killuo. Dumbledore found out at the first level. He had been waiting for Quirrell to come up and ask him for help. Through communication with Dumbledore, Ivan found that Dumbledore did not know that Voldemort was attached to Quirrell's head. He just suspected that Voldemort was still alive. As for those levels, they were originally prepared for Harry. It happened that Ivan formed the mysterious side. "When the time comes, you can take them to try." Dumbledore said, "Just think of it as a small test I prepared for your small group." Chapter 68, but Old Dang gave too much. Dumbledore is really generous. Ivan could sense that Dumbledore was definitely trying to poo him. But what could Ivan do? Dumbledore gave too much. Ivan stroked the Philosopher's Stone in his pocket and could only say that Dumbledore was sincere. Giving Ivan the opportunity to study the Philosopher's Stone was the reward Dumbledore gave Ivan. "I had always intended to make Hogwarts my base. Protecting this place is protecting my future team." In this case, Ivan naturally had to protect his alma mater, Do I fear him for not having a nose? Ivan really didn't dare to confront Voldemort in his prime. There was no way. Voldemort started with the Avada Kedavra curse, which was fatal. In his hands, this kind of black magic was no different from instant death magic, and he would die if he was hit. Even if Snape cast the big melon on Ivan, he couldn't kill Ivan, because Snape couldn't have the idea of killing Ivan. If you don't have enough killing intention, the power of biting the big melon is naturally limited. But Voldemort is different. The soul without a nose has long fallen into darkness, and his black magic is even beyond the reach of Dumbledore. Regarding this point, Ivan did not exaggerate. Black magic needs negative emotions as a driving force. The darker it is, the more powerful it will be. Throughout the original book, Dumbledore almost never used black magic. This cannot be blamed on Dumbledore. Regarding black magic, Ivan originally felt that power has no distinction between good and evil, and good or bad depends on the person who controls it. However, in the world of Harry Potter, this theory does not apply. As mentioned before, white magic is the study of the outside world by wizards, while black magic is the exploration of wizards themselves. Soul, body, blood, life, destruction. The impact of black magic on wizards is visible to the naked eye. It will change a person from the inside out until he falls into an irreversible abyss. Ivan asked Dumbledore, "What is the key to learning black magic?" Dumbledore's answer is a strong will. Yes, the will attribute has the power to resist the erosion of black magic. And Ivan's will attribute is only 2 points. 2 points of will is not very low. At least black magic like the shadowless magic can't affect Ivan. So Dumbledore did not stop Ivan from learning this magic, and even took the initiative to help him improve it so that Ivan could be more handy. In contrast, like the fiery curse and the 3 unforgivable curses, Dumbledore clearly told Ivan that he couldn't bear the erosion of these magics now. If Ivan really wants to get in touch with these, he has to wait until he is in the 2nd or 3rd grade. Ivan knows that Dumbledore is really doing it for his own good, so he never studies it privately. An old man in the family is like a treasure. Dumbledore's experience is not what Ivan can imagine, which greatly prevents Ivan from going astray. If Noseless was in his prime, I would definitely summon Dumbledore immediately. But Voldemort is now just a remnant of his soul, and he is even so exhausted that he has to drink unicorn blood to survive. Ivan doesn't think there is anything to be afraid of such a Voldemort. It just so happens that there is such an opportunity at the end of the semester. Ivan's eyes were shining, and he looked at a glass next to the aisle, which reflected the scene of the first-year college cup. There, the figures of Ivan, Hermione, Harry, and others emerged one by one. Everyone was there, and no one lost their lives because of Quirrell and Voldemort. Safety is guaranteed. Ivan suppressed the smile on his face. Then what is there to be afraid of? Damn it! There are still 7 months until the end of the semester. 7 months is enough time for Ivan to fully develop his current attributes. I hope you can be more powerful, and don't let me down too much. Halloween at Hogwarts is extremely lively. The little wizards dress themselves up as various dangerous creatures, and then jump out from the corner shouting when you are not paying attention. Of course, scaring people is often the patent of senior students. First-year wizards like Ivan can only be used as tools for fun by seniors like the Weasley twins. Ivan, hey, why can't you afford to play? Put us down quickly. Look, the twins who want to scare themselves are hanging in the air with upside-down bells. Happy Halloween, both of you. Ivan watched the two desperately trying to cover the falling wizard skirts and laughed secretly. How about this gift? My prank, is it a surprise? In 5 minutes, the spell will be exposed. Be careful to protect your head. After that, Ivan turned around and left without looking back, leaving the twins behind helplessly. Ivan, don't go. Hey. Ivan couldn't help laughing out loud. Halloween, where you can play tricks on people at will, is really pleasant. Back to the Gryffindor common room. Ivan saw Hermione reading a book, and Parvati was sticking her head out from the 2nd floor. Where are they? Ivan sat next to Hermione. The little witch saw Ivan coming back and quickly closed the book. Neville and Harry went to find Ronald. Find Ronald again? Ivan was speechless. He has been angry until now. Ronald hates Miss Know-It-all. Parvati ran downstairs. Harry can't persuade him. It wasn't Neville and Harry who had a grudge against Hermione. They just want to play with Ronald and ask for some candy. Then why don't you go? Of course I'll wait for you to come back. Hermione didn't say anything, but Parvati was direct. She took Ivan's hand and said with a smile, "Let's go play together. My sister can't wait." Parvati's sister Padma is in Ravenclaw Academy, but the two have a very good relationship and often meet each other, and Ivan and others also know her. Parvati intends to let his sister join their team, but he doesn't know how to start. Ahem. Hermione coughed twice. She stood up and then calmly took Parvati's hand away from Ivan's sleeve. "Ivan, what does Principal Dumbledore want to see you about?" This is a blunt change of subject, but Hermione can do it so naturally. Parvati didn't know what to say. Swearing sovereignty, is it so obvious? But she didn't care about these. Anyway, everyone is still young, and it's still unknown who will be the final winner in the future. Hermione just came a few days early. The most important thing is that Parvati is very confident in her and her sister's appearance. The two most beautiful little lowly in the first grade of Hogwarts. This title is not a joke. Hermione is indeed very smart, but she doesn't know how to take care of things. The little witch who has not yet realized this is not taken seriously by Parvati. There's a saying in the East that women dress up to please themselves. Since Hermione doesn't care about her image in front of Ivan, Parvati understands that her relationship with Ivan must not have reached that stage yet. It is obvious that this is the possessiveness of the sister towards her brother. Parvati showed a shrewd look. "You are very weak now, sister-in-law Hermione Granger." The atmosphere abroad is indeed much more open than Ivan's previous life. But think about it carefully. When Ivan was this age in his previous life, many 4th and 5th grade elementary school students seem to have begun to talk about liking someone. Dumbledore has something to do recently, so he gave me a holiday. Ivan did not tell them about the Philosopher's Stone, but only revealed vaguely. "The principal has already known about our small team. He thinks it is very good and has sponsored a trial as our semester assessment this year." Really, hearing that Dumbledore recognized them, Yamin and Parvati were immediately overjoyed. This is recognized by the principal. Their mysterious side is now an official organization like the Professors Club. "Ivan, can I invite Padma to join?" "Of course." Ivan said that any young wizard who wants to improve can join, and it is not limited to the first grade. Senior grade can also join. Parvati was a little worried. After all, the mysterious side was gathered around Ivan. Ivan also taught the magic on weekdays. But if seniors join in, will Ivan's position be shaken? Ivan's magic attainments are no worse than those of the 5th and 6th graders. Hermione has seen Ivan's battles with her own eyes and has no doubt about his strength. This is what Professor Flitwick said himself. "I know, I never doubt Ivan's strength." Parvati said, "I'm just worried." Hermione didn't need to say it clearly. She understood what Parvati meant. The mysterious side was formed by Ivan with them. The core and leader of the team, they only recognize Ivan, and it can only be Ivan. "Have some confidence in me, Parvati." Ivan smiled and raised his hand, then gently tapped the girl's head. "And it's just exchanging magic. Who takes the lead is not important." "Obviously, it's important," Parvati thought to herself. She glanced at Hermione, and the little witch nodded tacitly. "Ivan doesn't care, but we can't let our guard down. They are Ivan's most loyal fans, and they will defend his reputation and status to the death." "What are you two doing? Flirting with each other?" Nothing. The two girls were startled and quickly changed the subject. "I heard from Professor Flitwick that senior students usually perform on Halloween Eve." Hermione asked, "What kind of performance is it?" "Talent show." "That's a good suggestion, but Hogwarts has no arrangements in this regard for the time being." Ivan shook his head and said, "The performance that Professor Flitwick is talking about is that senior students use magic to decorate the auditorium to add to the festive atmosphere. In addition, there is also a Halloween choir. Every year, Professor Flitwick would write a song to start the dinner." "Okay, let's go." The Halloween dinner was still a while away, but the auditorium could still be used for communication and learning. Ivan had already seen many students go to the auditorium. Boom! The auditorium was beautifully decorated, and the colorful Halloween decorations instantly attracted the attention of the two little witches. The simulated dark night sky created by magic, with occasional lightning flashing, leaving bursts of thunder. 1,000 bats fluttered on the walls and ceiling, and another 1,000 were like low dark clouds, circling and dancing above the dining table, making the candles and the pumpkin bellies sterilize and flash. This way, Ivan, Hermione. Harry saw the three people coming in and hurriedly called them over. Ronald sat on the other side of Harry, silently eating the bat-like candies that appeared from the dinner plate, quite uncomfortable. "Humph." Hermione snorted coldly, not giving Ronald any face, which made Harry very embarrassed. The little witch sat opposite Ivan and Neville with Parvati and Lavender. The three of them whispered, and it was unknown what they were talking about. "Ivan, what does Dumbledore want to talk to you about?" "Some study plans." Ivan picked up a red apple, but found that it was not an apple, but made of syrup. He took a bite, and the sweet cream burst out, and a full sense of happiness filled his heart. Hogwarts house elves seemed to have a lair. Ivan enjoyed the pre-dinner dessert, and Harry continued to say, "Yes, you are much better than us, and the first-year courses are meaningless to you." Harry did not envy Ivan for being able to get Dumbledore's guidance. It's like you are still learning addition and division, but the other person's level is too high, so you go to ask the school teacher how to use calculus. Of course, the most important thing is that Ivan never hides his knowledge. As long as it is magic knowledge suitable for them, Ivan will teach them sooner or later. Therefore, both Harry and Ronald, who is jealous of Ivan, think that it is reasonable for Dumbledore to give Ivan special treatment. Otherwise, isn't it a waste of Ivan's time to let Ivan learn the same thing as them? In this way, everyone chatted while tasting the sweets that kept appearing on the table. During this time, Harry also shared a red candy with Ivan. "What is this?" "I don't know." Harry said, "George and Fred asked us to pass it to you, saying that it tastes good. But I think there must be something wrong with this candy," Harry added. "So I think it's best not to eat it." Ivan just took the candy and already knew the function of this thing. With the dual blessing of magic eyes and spiritual vision, all tricks will be exposed. So what's the matter with this candy? Harry was very interested in this. The pranks of the Weasley twins are famous. It doesn't have any special effects. It just makes your nose bleed after you eat it, but it will go away after a while. This thing is called nosebleed nougat in the original book, and it is a kind of quick, fun skipping candy. Others include coma flower spike, fever spike, vomiting spike, etc. The Weasley twins want to avenge Ivan's previous hanging bell. Chapter 69, Giant Monster, but have these two guys develop this kind of prank prop so early? Ivan is actually very interested in the Weasley family. The flying car that Mr. Weasley in the original book was modified by him personally. And then there's the incredible creative talent of the Weasley twins. Two little wizards who can start developing various prank props in the 2nd and 3rd grades. Can't they prove their talent? Compared to Bill, who entered Gringotts, Charlie, who raised dragons, and Percy, who entered the Ministry of Magic, Ivan felt that George and Fred were the true inheritors of the Weasley family's magic system. The 28 Holy Families are really something. Take the candy in Ivan's hand, for example. The alchemy skills contained in it are no less than those of Snape's exclusive potion formulas. Ivan. Soon after, the Weasley twins ran over. Looking at their expressions, they clearly expected Ivan to have a nosebleed after eating the nosebleed nougat. "You two are just in time." Ivan smiled kindly at the two and snapped his fingers. Puff! The next moment, 2 streams of blood gushed out of the brothers' faces, scaring the surrounding wizards to retreat with horror. "Oh, why is this happening?" George and Fred covered their noses and spoke incoherently. A little trick. Ivan tossed the bloody nougat in his hand and said as if he had done something insignificant, "I analyzed the magic you hid in the candy. How do you feel? Is it the same as eating it?" 733 Surrender. "We surrender." The Weasley twins didn't understand and immediately begged Ivan for mercy. Snap! With another snap of his fingers, Ivan cast a nosebleed-inducing counterspell. Buy one, get one free. This is the counterspell I designed for you. You're welcome. Oh, Ivan, huh? You're a genius. Frightened by Ivan's gaze, Ingy quickly changed his words. You should be with us. Yeah. Fred also said, I really want to trade Ronald with you and let you be our brother. Ronald will be sad if you say that. Little Ronaldo won't be sad. That's right. The twins, who had a sad face a second ago, were now arm in arm with each other and began to tease their younger brother. If he had the last name Ambrose, he would probably wake up laughing in his dreams. Ivan was speechless. Ronald was still sitting there. Is it really okay to say such things in front of your own brother? But Ivan looked at Ronald and found that he was still eating candy calmly, not caring about the sarcasm of his two brothers. You're probably used to it, right? Ivan knew that the twins were just joking. He threw the candy back to George and said, if you develop such props in the future, it is best to prepare the counter curse in advance. Otherwise, it may be dangerous. Danger? How could it be? The Weasley brothers widened their eyes, seemingly unable to understand what Ivan meant by danger. Well, this is also the difference in cognition between Ivan and the little wizards who grew up in a magic world. In the eyes of ordinary people, it is a very scary thing to have brain tumors all over the body, missing arms and legs, and swollen heads and tongues. But the little wizards have long been accustomed to it. The twins' funny props are at best evil curses, far from the level of poisonous curses. And you think too highly of us, Ivan. Yeah, George echoed. We are not as smart as you. It is not easy to counter curses. After that, the two brothers looked at Ivan with sincere eyes. The passion in their eyes was self-evident. Ivan shook his head helplessly and then agreed. Okay, if you invent something new in the future, you can show it to me first. Pa! Hearing Ivan say this, the two brothers immediately slapped each other. I knew Ivan would agree. Haha, just as we planned, a candy in exchange for a magic group. Ivan ignored the cheers of the two funny guys. He had noticed it a long time ago. With the cunning of the Weasley brothers, it is impossible for them to use such a lame trick as asking Harry to hand over the candy. Obviously, they took this opportunity to let Ivan see the quality of the prank props. As for Ivan's willingness to help, it was purely accidental. The banquet on Halloween Eve officially began. Dumbledore and the professors took their seats one after another, and under the announcement of the headmaster, they began to enjoy more delicious food. Boom! Just as Ivan was eating chocolate and sharing ghost stories with other young wizards, there was a bang, and the door of the auditorium was pushed open from the outside. Yes, Professor Quirrell suddenly rushed into the auditorium, his big scarf tilted on his head, his face full of fear. There is a troll in the underground classroom. I thought you should know. After the voice fell, Quirrell fell to the ground. The whole process was smooth, and there was no acting at all. Wow! Then the next moment, the whole audience was in turmoil, especially the young wizards in the first and second grades. Their faces were pale with fear from the trolls. Students in the third grade and above were slightly better, but they could not hide their fear and uneasiness. No way. Ivan looked at the fallen Quirrell, then calmly threw a candy into his mouth. Voldemort's brain is probably eaten by the Dementors. How could he choose someone like Quirrell to possess him? Under the watchful eyes of the public, a giant monster was released, and in front of Dumbledore. He still wanted to lure the tiger away from the mountain, which showed that he didn't take Dumbledore seriously at all. What's even funnier is that the Philosopher's Stone is now staying in Ivan's pocket. Why did Quirrell go to the fourth floor? Was he drooling to see the three-headed sky? Quiet. Dumbledore stood up, and his majestic voice resounded throughout the hall and successfully calmed the students' commotion. Prefects, the old man said in a low voice, and immediately led the students from each college to the dormitory. After speaking, Dumbledore also glanced at Ivan, who nodded at him, indicating that the Philosopher's Stone was safe. Looking at Quirrell on the ground again, even Dumbledore couldn't help but twitch his mouth slightly. What kind of stupid plan is this? Do you really think he is a fool? Follow me. Don't get separated, first-year students. As long as you listen to my instructions, you don't have to be afraid of any giant monsters. Okay, follow me closely. Unfortunately, before Ivan could make any move, Percy had already started to arrange for the students to evacuate. Make way. The first-year students have to go. Excuse me, I'm the prefect. Ivan looked around and saw that Harry, Hermione, and others were all there. So he stopped worrying. The plot has changed, and Ivan didn't wipe his tears in the girls' bathroom. If there were no challenges at the end of the semester, Ivan might really take his friends to find the trolls to verify their progress during this period. But now there is no need for this. With Dumbledore here, wouldn't the trolls be killed in one move? Ahem, just as Ivan was thinking this, an indescribable stench suddenly entered his nose. What's this smell? Why is it so smelly? At this time, the wizards from the 4 colleges, led by their own prefects, returned to the dormitory in 2 groups. Among them, the lounges for Slytherin and Hufflepuff are located underground, on the left side of the auditorium. Gryffindor and Ravenclaw had to go through the lobby to enter their respective towers. Dong, dong, dong. But just as everyone walked into the quadrangle, a sound of footsteps like thundering war drums came from far away and rushed towards the little city. The troll was extremely tall, already more than 4 meters. Its skin was dull and gray-black like granite. Its huge and clumsy body was like a pile of huge gravel, with a small head like a cocoa bean on top. The troll had short legs as thick as tree stumps and flat, rough, and calloused feet were connected below. At this moment, there was still some distance between the little city, but the disgusting stench still came to everyone's face, making everyone's eyes sting. Troll! It's a troll! Percy was extremely nervous. He drew out his wand and stood in front of the community teachers. There were nearly 150 people in the 2 colleges, including many 5th and 6th year seniors, but only a few people reacted to this sudden situation. Draw your wands. The professors will be here soon. The head of Ravenclaw was a beautiful girl with long brown hair. Her name was Penelope Clearwater, a 5th year senior at Hogwarts. Don't be afraid, it's just a troll. The senior wizards were not weak, and they had mastered enough offensive magic. It might be a bit difficult to defeat a troll one-on-one, but there were so many people here, and a mere troll could not withstand the massive magical impact anyway. However, when the troll's huge body knocked open a wall and rushed towards them like a tank, even the senior wizards were frightened. What spells? Counterattacks? At this moment, almost everyone's mind was blank. Flames are blazing. Penelope reacted quickly, and almost at the moment the troll appeared, she fired a little flame at the opponent's soldiers. She didn't even see what the troll looked like, and the magic wand in her hand had successfully cast a spell. However, when the flame collided with the troll's body, there was a puff sound, and the flame created by the fire spell was instantly extinguished. Penelope obviously didn't expect this situation. Quickly stop, shatter into pieces, fall to the ground, freezing spell, cutting spell, coma spell. One after another offensive spells were released by senior wizards, and they fell on the rushing troll. However, the troll's skin has extremely strong magic resistance. This caused the spells of the seniors to hit it, except for hindering the opponent's steps, and almost no damage was caused. Damn it! Seeing this, Percy didn't care about the impact, and immediately fired a blasting spell at the troll's chest. The huge explosion was accompanied by billowing smoke, and it also blew open the muscles of the troll's chest. For a time, blood flowed and broken meat splattered. Roar! Unfortunately, before Percy could be happy, the giant monster, who became more violent because of the pain, threw the wooden stick behind him. In front of him was Percy and the groups of junior wizards behind him. Tisk, seeing the danger coming, Ivan frowned in dissatisfaction. What are the professors doing? Bang! The transparent magic barrier blocked the wooden stick thrown by the giant monster. Ivan waved his hand, and all the wizards in front of him, including Percy and Penelope, who were the class leaders, moved to both sides uncontrollably. Percy saw Ivan and was about to say something, but after seeing Ivan's ugly face, he immediately kept silent. Be careful. Its magic resistance is very high. Penelope was also shocked by Ivan's move. The barrier that blocked the wooden stick just now was the upper magic of the Iron Armor 2.4 spell, which protected everything. Don't worry, it's just a giant monster. Ivan stepped forward quickly, and without waiting for the giant to continue roaring and attacking, he raised his hand and cast a repelling spell. Instantly, The terrifying air wave spread forward like an invisible wave. Bang! With just one move, the giant who was so arrogant just now was lying on his back. Galala! The giant wanted to get up, but dozens of vine-like tree roots had already drilled out of the ground and tied it tightly. Be quiet. Ivan raised his hand holding the magic wand and saw that the vines and tree roots immediately changed from the original brown to silver gray. This is a transformation spell. The first one turns the grass in the yard into roots, and the latter turns it into steel. Two-pronged approach. Roar, it's so noisy, Ivan shouted, and the steel-like chain tightened suddenly, and the monster let out a painful wail. Transfiguration belongs to using the opponent's force to fight the opponent's force. Even if the opponent's magic resistance is high, it is still powerless in the face of physical attacks. Ivan pointed out the problems of the senior students, including Percy and Penelope. But if you have strong enough magic power, feint it. It was the same coma spell, but it was different from the muddy flow of other students. When Ivan's spell fell, everyone felt like a giant hammer hit the troll's head. Everyone saw with their own eyes that the troll's face facing the sky was like a flattened persimmon, and even the land behind his head collapsed. Chapter 70. Quirrell on the Run. DUF. The first and second grade wizards didn't understand why. They just thought Ivan was invincible. But the senior students knew more. They knew very well what Ivan meant by strong enough magic power. Is he really a little wizard? Too exaggerated. He would die if he was hit by that kind of coma spell. But Ivan was so handsome just now. Yes, even when he was angry, he was so elegant. Ivan ignored the exclamations of the little wizards. He wanted to know where the professors were and where Dumbledore was. Merlin's beard. Professor McGonagall ran quickly from behind the crowd and saw the troll lying on the ground. Thank God. After learning that no one was injured, Professor McGonagall excitedly stepped forward and checked Ivan's condition. It's good that you're okay. It's good that you're okay. What's going on, Professor? Ivan looked at Professor Cat, whose eyes were filled with tears, and his original blame and questioning disappeared a lot. There are 3 trolls. Professor McGonagall said shockingly. Someone released 3 trolls into Hogwarts. 3. This number is obviously different from what Ivan remembered. According to the original book, Quirrell designed a level for Hogwarts with a troll, and on Halloween Eve, he released another troll. But now, the number of trolls has changed from 2 to 3. No, there may be more. If the trolls in the level don't run out, then there are 4 trolls. Considering that Voldemort can get something as rare as a dragon egg, it is not difficult to find 3 trolls. Soon, Ivan learned what happened from Professor McGonagall. Led by Dumbledore, the professors went to find the troll that broke in. But halfway through, Snape, who left halfway, encountered the second troll, blocking his way to the trapdoor room on the 4th floor. After Snape defeated the troll, he thought there might be more trolls, so he returned immediately. Professor McGonagall received Snape's notice, so he rushed to protect Gryffindor and Ravenclaw's 07 students. So what McGonagall didn't know was that Slytherin and Hufflepuff also encountered a troll. Is everyone here? Percy was the head of Gryffindor, but McGonagall was asking Ivan. Not one less. Ivan had counted them, and there were no casualties. Percy, go comfort the children. I have something to say to Ivan. Okay, Dean. Percy not only did not feel humiliated, but he respected Ivan, who was 4 years younger than him. If he hadn't acted in time, the stick thrown by the troll alone would have injured and killed many young wizards. Ivan, isn't Ivan back? Where is Ivan? The little lions saw Percy going upstairs, but there was no sign of Ivan around, so they all started asking. After the battle, just now, the students of Ravenclaw and Gryffindor, whether they were seniors or juniors, were now convinced by Ivan. He was not afraid of danger and remained calm. At the critical moment, he not only protected everyone, but also solved the terrible troll with a crushing attitude. Even though they had returned to their respective dormitories, Ivan's previous actions were still echoing in the hearts of the little wizards. Elegant. Too elegant. Ivan's smooth casting was magnificent and exquisite. This gave Ivan a special temperament in addition to his gentle, knowledgeable, and reliable image. That is, a sense of security. Yes, a full sense of security. It seemed that as long as Ivan stood there, they would be fearless. Ahem, Percy was a little embarrassed because he was the head of Gryffindor. Professor McGonagall has something to tell Ivan. However, the little wizards still didn't want to leave. They had to see Ivan go upstairs and live with them before they could feel at ease. At the door, Ivan was asking McGonagall in detail about what happened tonight. The news from Professor Sprout, who went to rescue, also came over, and they also encountered a giant monster. So there are not only 3 giant monsters, but 4. Unexpectedly, the 3 giant monsters were still not all. Ivan was sure that these giant monsters must have been put in by Voldemort controlling Quirrell. No one else would be so bored as to go to Hogwarts and cause trouble except him. Of course, the most important thing is the memory of the original book. But why? Ivan couldn't understand Quirrell or Voldemort's train of thought. In the original book, a giant monster was put in to lure the tiger away from the mountain, to attract Dumbledore's attention, so as to steal magic. What is the situation now? Snape obviously also thought of the tiger away from the mountain plan. But what did Voldemort want to do with the other 3 giant monsters? One of them was to attract the attention of Dumbledore and the professors, and this should not have changed. Of the remaining 2, one giant monster blocked Gryffindor and Ravenclaw on their way back to the dormitory. The 10th blocked the little wizards of Slytherin and Hufflepuff. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Ivan's mind like an electric current. Is Voldemort looking for me? The more he thought about it, the more Ivan felt it was possible. No way. Am I being targeted by Voldemort? Ivan suspected that Voldemort might be confirming the identity of the powerful wizard who fought Snape a month ago. He had checked all the professors through Quirrell's body. Obviously, the creepy power of the Obscurus was definitely not in these professors. In this way, even if he was unwilling to admit it, Voldemort could only place his suspicion on the young wizards in the school. So, there was what happened just now. The 2 giant monsters blocked the students of the 4 colleges and attacked them. The giant monster has a strong protective magic, and ordinary spells can't break the spell on it. Professor McGonagall told Ivan that the 2 giants that stopped the little wizard had been specially modified and were more powerful than ordinary giants. It is basically certain that Voldemort's target is me. Next, Ivan told Professor McGonagall his guess. He did not mention Voldemort explicitly, but replaced it with a certain dark wizard, indicating that someone had noticed the fluctuation of magic power that night, and that was why he designed this crisis. Who is it? Professor McGonagall was extremely angry. What she could not tolerate the most was that her students were hurt. She did not put the blame on Ivan. Ivan did not do anything wrong. The one who was deliberately analyzing was the dark wizard hidden in the school. He was the one who should be imprisoned in Azkaban. Ivan, do you have any suspects? I think. Ivan thought about it and finally decided to expose some things. Professor Quirrell is the most suspicious. There is no way. Ivan is not afraid of Voldemort's residual soul. But what about the other little wizards? After 2 months at Hogwarts, Ivan really likes this mysterious and warm magic school and enjoys his daily life with Hermione, Neville, Parvati, Harry, and others. Ivan did suppress the Obscurus, but its dark power still affected him. But since entering Hogwarts and being accompanied by the little wizards, Ivan clearly felt that the power of the Obscurus had become much softer. Since I know everything, why should I follow the original plot? Wouldn't it be easier to just pull out Quirrell and let Harry give Voldemort's remaining soul a friendly punch? In this way, Voldemort's problem was solved, and Dumbledore also obtained an experimental data. It proves that the magic of love in Harry's body is indeed Voldemort's nemesis. As long as this protective magic is still there, Voldemort can't hurt Harry. The fundamental purpose of the first part of the original work, in addition to training Harry and the trio, is only this. Professor Quirrell? Why? McGonagall frowned slightly. Ivan, why do you think Quirrell has a problem? As soon as the words came out, McGonagall suddenly thought of something and asked, "Did you see it?" The see here is naturally not seeing it with your own eyes, but a prophecy. Ivan discovered the mastermind through the prophecy. Yes, Ivan did not predict Quirrell's plan, but he is now almost 100% sure that it was Quirrell's doing. Even if it was not Quirrell, there must be something wrong with him, and it is always right to catch him. So, Ivan admitted the result of the prophecy without hesitation. Okay, McGonagall believed Ivan, but such a big thing, I think, still has to be decided by Professor Blitto. That's right. Ivan did not refuse. I believe in Principal Dumbledore. Soon after, the two found Dumbledore, and with him, there were also deans such as Snape. Dumbledore did not return to the principal's office, but chose to gather in the hall. The old principal looked very ugly. Snape said, "Quirrell obviously is a problem. I saw him go to the 4th floor. But we have no concrete evidence, Severus." Dumbledore was very angry because someone broke the rules of the game. As the most powerful white wizard in the world, it is not difficult to accept that someone would covet Hogwarts. However, Dumbledore and the Dark Wizards have always had a tacit understanding. You can come in and cause trouble, but everything has a limit. That is, you can't hurt the children. In the original book, Voldemort acted secretly in order to avoid a head-on collision with Dumbledore. Ivan didn't know what disease Voldemort had this time, and he dared to challenge Dumbledore's majesty so blatantly. He sent out 4 giant monsters at once, and they were targeting the little wizards. Obviously, this has touched Dumbledore's bottom line. Ivan saw it. See? Snape looked at McGonagall in confusion. He was stunned for a moment, but soon reacted, "Boy, your prophecy? Let's not talk about the prophecy. I think the most important thing we need to do now is to find Professor Quirrell. At least, we have to call him over. Dumbledore can tolerate Quirrell, but Ivan can't. I think the identity of Professor is not a reason for innocence. Everyone should be questioned. The existence of Quirrell has seriously affected the safety of Hermione, Neville, and other young wizards. If he can launch an attack, there will be a second and third time. For this unstable factor, Ivan will deal with it quickly. He has decided, as long as Quirrell comes, Ivan will ask him to take off his turban and then expose Voldemort completely. Although Voldemort is in a special state of life and death, he cannot be eliminated at all. But at least, the first school year will be much easier. "The boy is right, Dumbledore," Snape said. "In addition, I am willing to hand over my wand and accept questioning." "I agree. Me too." Professors Flitwick and Sprout also expressed their opinions, as did Professor McGonagall. They had a clear conscience and were not afraid of being checked. On the contrary, if any professor refused, it meant that he had something to hide. Okay. Seeing this, Dumbledore no longer hesitated and asked McGonagall and others to notify all professors and ask them to come to him immediately. After they left, Dumbledore asked, "Are you sure, Ivan?" The old man found the problem in Ivan's words. He did not answer Snape directly, and he got an accurate prophecy. "I can't see his past. There is a strong magic blocking my sight." Ivan said, "But who else can it be except Quirrell?" He should have noticed his poor acting skills and the disgusting magic emanating from his body. "Headmaster, you should have noticed a long time ago." Yes, Dumbledore did notice it, but he just thought Quirrell was cursed and didn't think of Voldemort's possession. At most, he suspected that Quirrell was in collusion with Voldemort and was a Death Eater. "I've been waiting for him to ask me for help." Dumbledore would not give up on any student. You know, Quirrell used to be a very good child, a talented Ravenclaw. But when I saw him again this year, he seemed like a different person. Speaking of this, Dumbledore was a little disappointed because it meant that another good child had fallen into a dark wizard. "But, Professor Ivan, can't you see that there is something wrong with Quirrell?" Dumbledore explained. "Perhaps in your opinion, Quirrell's excuses and reasons are very strange. But, believe me, many things in the wizarding world are more incredible than Quirrell's experiences. Quirrell's excuses are indeed magical, but the wizarding world is full of all kinds of weird stories." Ivan comes from the Muggle world, and in his previous life, he looked at Quirrell from the perspective of a reader, so he could easily find the inconsistency. But if he was a native wizard, he would not necessarily doubt Quirrell's words. What really made Dumbledore feel wrong was the malice in Quirrell. "Then why did you hire him as a professor?" "Ivan, you let a guy with strange magic power enter Hogwarts." "You misunderstood, Van." Dumbledore said helplessly. "When I interviewed Quirrell, he was not like this. Ivan didn't know what to say. The curse of the defense against the dark arts class is really unsolvable. I just got the job and went to Albania and then became Voldemort's puppet. Albus. Soon, Professor McGonagall came back. Oh no, Quirinus is missing. Quirinus Quirrell, or the Voldemort attached to him, actually sensed the risk of being exposed and ran away. Is your nose so sharp? Voldemort's decisiveness was beyond Ivan's expectations. He had always thought that Voldemort was a fool. It seems that we missed the best chance to catch him. Snape's tone was cold, full of complaints about Dumbledore's misjudgment. Minerva, let the professors search the entire castle immediately. Don't let a dangerous dark wizard lurk in the school. Dumbledore, also, I hope the deans can live with the children before Quirrell is found. Okay, I understand, Albus. The 4 deans already have rooms in the dormitories of their respective colleges. They are very powerful, and ordinary dark wizards are no match for the 4. Finally, Dumbledore looked into the distance. I will personally search the Forbidden Forest and the Black Lake. Chapter 71 Preparation before the station. Ivan did not participate in the following events. He returned to his dorm to rest and wait for the results of the professor's search. However, things did not develop as Ivan expected. Dumbledore and other professors could not find any trace of Quirrell. They had searched almost everywhere, including the Forbidden Forest, the Black Lake, and the castle. Ivan also reminded Dumbledore to check the Room of Requirement, but unfortunately, he still found nothing. What's going on? Ivan thoroughly experienced the troubles brought by the butterfly effect. Did Quirrell really run away? No. As soon as this idea came out, Ivan immediately denied it. Voldemort's goal is the Philosopher's Stone. If he doesn't get the Philosopher's Stone, where can he go? Even if Voldemort's target has one more person, Ivan will stay in Hogwarts, and Voldemort will have no reason to leave. However, it is definitely not difficult for a great wizard, even a lingering great wizard, to avoid the search of others if he is determined. Voldemort wanted to hide, and even if Dumbledore took action himself, he would still return in vain. And now, there is something more troublesome. The troll sneaked into the safest place in Britain, Hogwarts. The first-year wizard defeated the troll, who will protect Xiaojiang from the threat of dark wizards. The newspaper published a lot of news about the troll incident, most of which questioned whether Dumbledore was still capable of serving as the headmaster of Hogwarts. We all know that Dumbledore was the greatest white wizard of this century. But now, there are less than 10 years left before the end of this century. Hermione read the negative news about Dumbledore in the newspaper. We can't entrust the safety of children to an old man over 100 years old. DAA. After the voice fell, Hermione slammed the newspaper on the table heavily, and the little witch said angrily, "It's nonsense." It's been almost a week, and the comments in these newspapers are getting more and more excessive. Parvati agreed. They only say some sarcastic remarks, question this and that, but no one has ever proposed what to do. During this period, all the deans lived with the students to ensure their safety. Hermione could see that Professor McGonagall was visibly losing weight because of his hard work day and night. Wizards are also human beings. After 7 or 8 days of exhausting work, their bodies will not be able to bear it. Why is it like this? Harry was very confused. He didn't understand why these news reports said so about Dumbledore. Are they wrong? At this time, Malfoy came over, and the smile on his face could not be hidden at all. Dumbledore is old a long time ago. Who knows what the school will become in his hands? My father is discussing this matter with the school directors. Maybe in a few days, Hogwarts will have a new headmaster. Malfoy's words aroused the dissatisfaction of many students, especially the Gryffindor students, who were even more excited. The Weasley brothers glared at him, and many people would rush forward and beat Malfoy, who didn't know how to live or die, to the ground as soon as someone spoke. Malfoy, let me guess why you came here at this time. Harry looked around pretentiously. Oh, by the way, it turns out that Ivan is not here. I don't know if Harry was made more venomous by Snape, but at this time he actually hit Malfoy's pain point, and he was so angry that he wanted to strangle him to death. But Malfoy subconsciously looked around and confirmed that Ivan was indeed not here. You won't be proud for long, Potter. Malfoy. Wait until Dumbledore is kicked out, and it will be the next one. Whose turn? Ivan's voice interrupted Malfoy's beautiful fantasy. He trembled all over, and cold sweat broke out on his back. Damn it. Malfoy felt that he had miscalculated. He only considered that Ivan was away, but he didn't expect Ivan to come back at this time. Okay, go back. Ivan didn't do anything to Malfoy. He patted his shoulder and asked him to go back to the Slytherin table. Oh, okay. Malfoy didn't hesitate and ran away from Ivan. Ha ha ha. Harry laughed. It's you, Ivan. That guy Malfoy actually said that Dumbledore would resign as the headmaster. Indeed, the current remarks are very bad for Dumbledore. But how could the greatest white wizard be defeated by a little rumor? Only a little wizard like Malfoy, who was spoiled by his family, would believe that Dumbledore would be replaced because of this. Hermione noticed that Ivan's face looked a little bad and asked, "What's wrong, Ivan? Is there something wrong?" "No way," Parvati said in horror. "Is it really true that Malfoy said it? How is it possible?" Harry was anxious immediately. He looked at Ivan, hoping to get an accurate message. It's impossible for Hogwarts to change the headmaster until that point. Others don't know, but Ivan doesn't know the weight of Dumbledore in the wizarding world. There's only one person in this world who can influence Dumbledore's will, and that's himself. Unless Dumbledore is willing, no one is qualified to tell him what to do. However, the problem now lies here. Voldemort has been gone for almost 10 years, and I didn't expect his followers to still have such a great influence. No, it should be that these people have been grudged for a long time, Ivan said secretly. They didn't get angry before, just because Dumbledore is highly respected, and now they are in trouble. They immediately take action. These guys' little tricks are shameful, but Ivan has decided that Voldemort really caught Dumbledore's weakness. Too many parents sent shouting letters to hold Headmaster Dumbledore accountable. Ivan, just now, the Ministry of Magic notified the headmaster to come over and let him explain the matter and give an explanation to the parents. In this case, if Dumbledore is replaced by Ivan, a few little calami beeping, Ivan will let them know what magic is power in a minute. However, Dumbledore is a saint. He is unwilling to use force to coerce others. Voldemort knows Dumbledore's style too well. Taking advantage of the emotions of the parents, and in line with the orders of the Ministry of Magic, Voldemort easily led Dumbledore away. Old Dumbledore had already anticipated this moment. He found Ivan and other professors and asked them to take care of Hogwarts during his absence. If nothing unexpected happens, the accident will come. Ivan can be sure that all this was calculated by Voldemort a long time ago. If you want to take action, there is no better time than now. Ivan doesn't know what Voldemort will do, but Ivan is not afraid of Voldemort. As the saying goes, magic is power. Ivan is confident that he can fight Voldemort, who is not yet resurrected, especially considering the other deans and Harry's treasure against Voldemort. Ivan asked himself that there was no reason to lose. The most important thing is that all of us can attend the final dinner safely. Ivan said that Voldemort had no idea how powerful the power of fate was, and he was destined to lose to him. Are you really okay? Don't worry. Ivan has been keeping an eye on Hermione, Neville, and others these days. If Voldemort hurts others, Ivan will be angry at most. But if Hermione is hurt, Ivan is afraid that he will really be unable to suppress the silent rampage. So he has been very cautious recently, strictly forbidding them to go out at night and directly prohibiting magic practice in a room of requirement. I don't understand why everyone is so dissatisfied with Dumbledore. Who knows? Ivan did not answer Hermione's question. He just said, just like people are afraid of the mysterious man, but not afraid of Dumbledore, who is more powerful than the mysterious man. What? Ivan's words really made Hermione, Harry, and other little wizards dumbfounded. They really didn't think about this. Yeah. Hermione, Dumbledore is more powerful than the mysterious man, but everyone. But never take Dumbledore seriously, right? Ivan added the little witch's words. He shook his head and said, okay, everyone go back to the dormitory early tonight. Don't walk around. Ivan, do you think something will happen tonight? If I were Quirrell, I would definitely take action at this time. Because Dumbledore is not here. Yeah. Ivan nodded and said, after all, no one wants to fight the greatest white wizard of the time. Hermione. After that, Ivan began to organize the things on the long table. Let's go. Wait for me. Seeing Ivan get up and leave, Hermione hurriedly followed. There are also Neville and Parvati. The four of them belong to a small group and always advance and retreat together. Ivan plans to return to the dormitory to rest. If nothing unexpected happens, there will probably be a fierce battle tonight. Therefore, Ivan needs to conserve his energy and adjust his condition to the best. Soon, the time came to 7 o'clock in the evening. In Ivan's dormitory, Neville and Parvati were playing wizard chess, and Hermione was reading a book to relieve her boredom as usual. It was pitch black outside the window, and the wind was strong, making the windows rustle. Ivan frowned slightly, and he was a little doubtful whether Voldemort was going to do something. According to Dumbledore, he would be able to come back before 8 o'clock tonight. There are less than 40 minutes left. If Voldemort doesn't take action, he will miss the best time. Ivan thought so and looked at the dark window again. Unfortunately, just like the previous times, he couldn't see anything. I'm completely confused. There's no way. Voldemort and Harry are the protagonists of this world, and their weight is quite exaggerated. Ivan's prediction is still valid in the general direction, but it is almost impossible to analyze the fate of the two. At least Ivan now can't do it to the extent of prying into Voldemort's fate. Bang! Suddenly, the door was pushed open, and everyone was startled. Hermione and Parvati pointed their wands at the door like a conditioned reflex. Harry. Seeing that it was Harry standing at the door, the little girls did not put down their wands. This was Ivan's request. Because of the existence of Polyjuice Potion, only looking at the appearance cannot prove the identity of the other party. What happened, Harry? Ivan could see the traces of magic left by the potion on the wizard, and the Harry in front of him was himself. Ronald. What? Ronald is missing. Harry's news surprised the little wizards present. Hermione asked, "Are you sure he didn't run away to play somewhere?" Here. Harry took out a note with a paragraph written by Ronald on it. Ivan took the note and took a look at it. To summarize the content above, if you don't want Ronald to get into trouble, let Harry go to the Forbidden Forest alone to meet him. Voldemort made a move. Ivan frowned slightly, and he quickly judged Voldemort's intention. Kidnap Ronald and lure Harry to the Forbidden Forest. As for how Ronald was kidnapped, it was just a matter of the Imperius curse. Ivan did not blame Ronald for being careless. The 11-year-old wizard would have been a 4th-grade primary school student in his previous life. Hermione, go inform Professor McGonagall. Now that Dumbledore is not here, the top fighting force of Hogwarts is the 4 deans and Ivan. It is simply impossible for Harry to go to the Forbidden Forest alone. Ivan. Harry was so nervous. If I inform the professor, will it be? Harry. Ivan said calmly. If I inform the professor, Ronald is in danger. But if I don't inform him, both you and Ronald will be in danger. After informing the professor, Ronald's safety is unknown for the time being, but at least Harry's safety can be guaranteed. I know you can't accept it, but courage is not a reason for recklessness. If it weren't for Ivan, Harry would definitely rush into the Forbidden Forest alone. 2 useless men would not be able to accomplish anything without Hermione. Good money is good. Ivan didn't think there was anything wrong with this. Harry's scheming is only so deep. It's already amazing that he can take risks for his friend's life. Fortunately, you still knew to come find us. Ivan patted Harry's shoulder, signaling him to calm down, and gave him a reassurance. Don't worry. Reen will sit next to you at the final dinner. Really? Harry was relieved when he heard Ivan's assurance. Ivan's prediction was so accurate that it was no exaggeration to say that it came true. Coupled with Harry's trust in Ivan, Mr. Savior immediately chose to entrust his brain to Ivan and let him command the action. Go! Ivan waved the spell, and a ball of silver-white light flew out from the end of the wand. This was the Patronus charm he had just learned. Because he was not proficient, the Patronus charm was not formed, just a ball of silver light. The Patronus has the function of transmitting messages, and the person Ivan was going to notify was Snape, the most capable professor in Hogwarts besides him. Let's go. Ivan, we must make more preparations, Harry. Ivan didn't explain. and took Harry to the Forbidden Forest to eat. He asked Hermione to find Professor McGonagall, not to let McGonagall go to the Forbidden Forest to rescue people, but to stay in Hogwarts to prevent Voldemort from playing another trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Voldemort wanted to get the Philosopher's Stone, and the target was under the trapdoor on the 4th floor. But this was the original plot, and Ivan was not sure that Voldemort would still choose the original one. What's more, the Philosopher's Stone was still with Ivan. It would be useless for Voldemort to go there, and he would only be empty-handed. As for calling Snape, it was for his own safety. Ivan was not afraid of Voldemort, and was ready to face him directly, and even brought Harry Potter, who was Voldemort's nemesis. But it was obviously more reassuring to have Snape as a backup. Chapter 72. Fierce Battle with Voldemort. Ivan, why did Ronald take the initiative to run to the Forbidden Forest? On the way, Harry followed Ivan and asked the doubts that had been bothering him. I think it should be the Imperius Curse, one of the 3 unforgivable curses. Ivan explained, people who are under the Imperius Curse behave the same as usual, but their words and deeds are under the control of the caster. Harry trembled all over when he heard that there was such a spell. Imagine being controlled by others and living a life worse than death. How terrible would that be? I heard that people who are under the Imperius Curse are not only not in pain, but very happy. Ivan explained the Imperius Curse to Harry to relieve his tension. Immune to water and fire. Silent, as if walking on flat ground. The Forbidden Forest was pitch black under the night sky, and the wind was howling. Although it was not raining, the cold wind still made people shiver. Ivan cast multiple protective spells on himself and Harry, and then plunged into the Forbidden Forest. The 2 of them were under the Disillusionment Charm, and with the Silencing Charm, their actions were silent, and even Hagrid, who was guarding the Forbidden Forest, did not notice. Ivan, what do you think Ronald will be? Harry held Ivan's hand to prevent him from getting lost. With Ivan around, Harry was not worried about anything. After all, Ivan was omnipotent. Even if he might die later, as long as Ivan could win in the end, Harry would not hesitate. Not sure. Harry, listen to my command later, don't act rashly. Ivan was basically certain that Voldemort's purpose in doing this was definitely him. Otherwise, how could Harry find the missing Ronald with just a piece of paper? He didn't even know where Ronald was in the Forbidden Forest. Only Ivan had the ability to find the point. Yeah, Harry was well trained by Ivan and obeyed his orders. The traces are visible. Then, under Ivan's spell, golden footprints appeared in the forest, and Ronald's figure was outlined by magic. It's Ronald. Harry clenched his fists. He was glad that he informed Ivan immediately. Yeah, Ivan took a deep breath. The darkness in front of him could not block his sight. What really put pressure on Ivan was the upcoming fierce battle. Face Voldemort. Then, Ivan's eyes became more determined. Verify my progress in this period of time. Suddenly, Ivan sensed a breath. He glanced back, and a familiar figure was revealed in his magic eyes, which was Snape. Snape is here. Ivan's message to Snape was that 093 asked him to hide his breath and follow behind him and Harry. In this way, the college has 3 deans, and he will fight Voldemort himself. Plus Snape's security. The 3-pronged approach is almost the best response Ivan could think of. Ivan Ambrosius. Suddenly, a hoarse whisper echoed in Ivan and Harry's ears without warning. Harry beside him looked painful, and he covered the scar on his forehead, obviously sensing Voldemort's presence. He's here, Ivan is nearby. Don't play such tricks, Professor Quirrell. Ivan did not reveal Voldemort's name. After all, in his cognition, Quirrell was the mastermind behind this series of conspiracies. What an amazing magic. Voldemort's voice came from the darkness. Sure enough, it was you who fought with Severus that night. Ivan looked over and saw a cloaked figure slowly approaching. It was Key Luo, who was possessed by Voldemort. Where is Ronald? Harry asked, suppressing the pain. Harry Pot. Seeing Harry, Voldemort's tone changed obviously. After all, he was the child of destiny who ruined his own glory. Voldemort always wanted to know what Harry was unique about. He used legilimency on Ronald and learned every bit of Harry after he entered Hogwarts. However, how to say it? Extremely disappointed. Harry did have some talent, but compared to him, Voldemort, it was nothing. In Voldemort's view, Harry's future achievements would be no more than Snape's. But it was such an ordinary little wizard who defeated the mighty Dark Lord. It was incomprehensible, let alone unacceptable. Don't worry, Harry. Voldemort's voice was like countless snakes crawling on the ground. I'll talk to you after I finish dealing with the current matter. Don't be impulsive. Ivan stopped in front of Harry, signaling him not to be reckless. Harry forced himself to calm down, staring at Voldemort, his eyes full of anger and unwillingness. What do you want to do? Ivan, let Ronald lead me here. Now I'm here, what's your purpose? Smart little wizard. Voldemort was not surprised at all that Ivan guessed that this was a trap for him. Harry was just the bait. Ivan was Voldemort's real target. You are extremely talented, Ambrosius. Staying in Hogwarts is just a waste of your time, Voldemort said. Join me. I will take you to appreciate the true meaning of dark magic. Ivan tilted his head. He was a little unbelievable. Feelings Voldemort went through such a big circle just to recruit him. Did the troll eat your brain? What? Voldemort didn't expect Ivan to sneer, and Quirrell's face twitched slightly. Anger was lingering in his heart. You want to recruit me? Just a dark wizard? Hearing Ivan's words, Voldemort's anger gradually subsided. I don't blame you, Ambrosius, because you don't know who is standing in front of you. Voldemort believes that Ivan refused because Professor Quirrell's status is too low. I would like to hear more about it. I am Voldemort. Voldemort did not hide and directly revealed his true identity. What? The next moment, Snape, who was hiding in the dark, showed an incredible look, and even Harry was stunned there. The two had always thought that the person behind the troll incident was Quirrell himself. But who would have thought that this matter was actually caused by Voldemort? Are you serious? Ivan deliberately said, pretending to be a dead person. I'm not dead yet. Voldemort's voice was high-pitched for a moment, and then returned to its original hoarseness. You don't understand, Ambrosius. I have gone further on the road of dark magic than anyone else. It's really him. He's still alive. Snape was very familiar with Voldemort. He felt that this way of speaking was familiar just now. He didn't expect that it was really the Dark Lord himself. No, Ivan and Harry can't face Voldemort directly. He wanted to rush out and stand in front of Harry and Ivan. But the problem is that if he did so, he would probably completely expose his undercover identity and would never be able to gain Voldemort's trust again. Targeting Quirrell and targeting Voldemort are two completely different concepts. Ivan, that kid. Snape noticed the hint Ivan gave him, telling him not to act rashly. Helplessly, Snape had to remain calm and wait for the right opportunity to make a move. In order to protect Harry, whether he is undercover or not, it is not important anymore. Hoo-hoo! Hearing Voldemort's name, Harry was shocked and angry. The man in front of him was the murderer of his parents, and Harry wanted to tear him into pieces. Fortunately, Harry still had reason. He knew his own strength, and rash action would only disrupt Ivan's rhythm. Oh, Ivan was very satisfied with Harry's reaction. This was the right-hand man he wanted. Then, Mr. Voldemort, you seem very confident. What? Ivan took a step forward and waved his wand back at the same time, skillfully creating a huge light film to protect Harry. Harry was Ivan's secret weapon to deal with Voldemort. Before it was needed, there must be no damage. The dignified Dark Lord has now become a pathetic ghost. In Ivan's eyes, the silver-gray light flowed slightly. You really disappoint me, Tom. You. Voldemort's pupils shrank slightly, and the word Tom was exactly the same as Dumbledore's. No, impossible. Before Voldemort could figure out whether Ivan was disguised by Dumbledore, a red light had already illuminated the darkness in front of him. Thunder explosion. He started with a blasting spell, and the power was so great that even Voldemort was shocked. Damn it! Voldemort, whose mind was disturbed by the sound of Tom, dodged immediately. The blasting spell passed by Voldemort, and the raging flames and roar instantly engulfed everything within 40 to 50 meters behind him. This power, Voldemort felt that his three views were trembling and a little confused, because the destructive power of this blasting spell did not look like something that a young wizard who had just entered school could possess. No, to be precise, even the blasting spell was. A first-year wizard actually knew a high-level destructive spell like the blasting spell. Dumbledore, rather than believing that Ivan had such a talent, Voldemort was more willing to believe that Ivan in front of him was disguised by Dumbledore. Is this unacceptable? The Dark Lord is just this little bit. I'll kill you while you're weak. Ivan kept casting offensive spells, using firepower to suppress Voldemort. His spells were so powerful that they looked like a completely different spell with the same name. Boom! Boom! For a moment, even Voldemort was beaten by Ivan and fled in disgrace. Voldemort felt the pain in his body. He was possessed by Quirrell, but this body was too fragile. He could not mobilize much magic power, and it was very sluggish. How could it be so powerful? As a last resort, Voldemort could only cast Apparition many times to avoid Ivan's bombardment. Is all you could do to hide? It seems that the Dark Lord is just like this. Every word of Ivan was like a blade, piercing into Voldemort's heart. Is that all you can do? That's enough. Voldemort could no longer bear Ivan's ridicule, and saw a green beam of light shooting out from the wand in his hand. Avada Kedavra! You can't afford it, right? Ivan had already prepared for the killing curse. Dazed, a stone wall rose in front of Ivan, and the green light of the killing curse collided with the stone wall, blasting out a piece of rubble. The amazing power left a deep pit on the surface of the stone wall. However, this degree of damage was far from completely destroying the stone wall and hitting Ivan. Is this Voldemort's black magic? So strong. Ivan was secretly shocked. This was his first time to come into contact with Voldemort's killing curse. Even through a stone wall, Ivan could still clearly feel the huge and unimaginable negative emotions contained in this killing curse. There's a saying that Voldemort said is right. He has gone further than anyone else on the road of black magic. If it was Voldemort in his prime, he would never use anything to block his killing curse. Ivan originally thought that the killing curse was not troublesome. As long as he could find a shelter, there was nothing to be afraid of. However, this idea was completely overturned after Ivan saw Voldemort's killing curse. Voldemort's killing curse is extremely terrifying. It can even directly destroy physical objects. You know, the essence of the killing curse is a beam of light. You can block the direct light, but the green light that escapes also has some characteristics of the killing curse. The green light of ordinary people is not enough, but Voldemort. Ivan felt the horror of this Dark Lord. That can really kill people. Avada Kedavra! Another green light shot out, and the power was even more violent than the previous one. Disarm you. Ivan did not hesitate, and completed the magic link in a flash. Boom! Then, two rays of light, one red and one green, collided in the air, and the powerful magic rushed in all directions. A circular air wave exploded from the center of the collision, crushing the earth and trees like a dead tree. What's going on? This is impossible. Ivan and Voldemort exclaimed in their hearts at the same time. The former could not understand Voldemort's current power. He was just a remnant soul. Why could he cast such a level of killing curse continuously? As for Voldemort, he was completely shocked by Ivan's power. A first-year wizard who had just entered school for less than 2 months tied with him in a magic battle? What a joke. No, Voldemort's pupils shrank slightly because he saw the location where the beam collided, moving towards his location. I was suppressed by him. The magic in the wizarding world is about quality, not area. Maybe Voldemort is very weak now, but the essence of magic will not change. In a magic battle, even Snape hiding in the dark did not dare to face Voldemort's killing curse head-on. Why? What the hell are you? Voldemort could not accept such a result. He asked loudly and angrily, trying to understand the secret of Ivan's strength. Is this unacceptable, Tom? You really disappoint me. While saying this, Ivan pressed down his wand at the same time, and even more terrifying magic was spit out from the tip of the wand, and the intersection moving towards Voldemort was a few points faster. Voldemort roared in anger, trying to win back a game. but he was just raging in incompetence. Ivan's magic attribute is 5 points, but every attribute given to Ivan by the system is at the peak. Dumbledore's magic is above 5 points, but not full 6 points. The old headmaster's realm is only 1 step away from 6 points after experiencing the trial of life and death. Such magic can barely be regarded as half a step to 6 points. In contrast, Voldemort's magic is obtained through a lot of black magic transformation. Both are magic 5, but only at the middle level of magic 5. As for Ivan, his magic 5 is the peak magic 5, still above Voldemort. Of course, Ivan is still too young, and the potential of magic 5 has not been fully developed. Now, he is roughly the same as Voldemort's magic level at his peak. Even if he is stronger, the difference is limited. But it's enough. A little more merit will lead to a huge gap. This is the reality of the wizarding world. Dumbledore. Seeing the light approaching, Voldemort glared at Ivan fiercely and then cut off the magic link in a roar. Pop! Then there was a crisp sound of firecrackers, and Voldemort's figure disappeared. He ran away. When Harry saw Voldemort disappear, his face flushed with excitement. Voldemort was beaten away by Ivan. Chapter 73. Ravenclaw's crown. Harry was in disbelief. What did he see? Ivan fought a draw with Voldemort, the man whom all wizards feared and dared not even mention his name. No, to be precise, Ivan should have won this battle. He defeated Voldemort. This kid, Snape, was also extremely shocked. He had fought with Ivan before and knew how desperate it was to fight with this kid. The feeling of powerlessness that no matter how hard you tried, even if you tried your best, you could only watch the torrent of magic getting closer and closer to you. He should have held back. Look at how Voldemort was suppressed. Snape was sure that when fighting with him, at least in terms of fighting, Ivan definitely let him go. Ivan, you won. You defeated Voldemort. Harry cheered excitedly from behind, but Ivan did not move. His mind at this moment was completely focused on the golden spot on his forehead when Voldemort left. What is Voldemort wearing on his head? Ivan had a vague guess, but it was too scary for him to believe. It seems to be a crown? No way. When this thought came to mind, Ivan immediately took a breath of cold air. Ravenclaw's crown? One of Voldemort's Horcruxes. It's messed up, completely messed up. Shouldn't the plot of the first part be a game of 3 little kids playing house, and Voldemort was fooled by Harry? But now, Quirrell seems to have been completely replaced by Voldemort's residual soul, the powerful killing curse. And Voldemort, who suddenly seems to have changed into a different person, with a set of conspiracies and tricks. Connecting all the changes, Ivan came to a terrible conclusion. Voldemort controlled Quirrell and took back one of his Horcruxes. Things have become troublesome. Ivan didn't expect that Voldemort would set his sights on his own Horcruxes. You know, in the first and second parts, Voldemort clearly entered Hogwarts twice, but never thought of taking back Ravenclaw's crown. Is this the inertia of thinking? Similarly, Ivan almost guessed where Voldemort had been hiding during this period. The Chamber of Secrets. Because of inertial thinking, Ivan did not think about the plot of the second part, but only thought that Voldemort would move within the scope of the first part. But the problem is that this is not a novel, but a real world. The original behavior of Voldemort in the plot was just a design of Rowling. After all, when Rowling was writing the Philosopher's Stone, the concept of the Chamber of Secrets might still be in her mind, and she didn't put it into writing at all. However, Voldemort here is not a character written by Rowling. He will not be limited to those things in the novel. This reminded Ivan and made him realize the limitations of the plot. If you believe in the plot too much, it's okay this time, but there may be big problems in the future. Ivan, where's Ronald? Have you seen him? Harry's voice interrupted Ivan's thoughts. He raised his head and quickly cast a spell to find people. Snape did not show up, still hiding in the dark, silently protecting the two. Soon, Ivan and Harry found Ronald in the Forbidden Forest. The boy was lying on the ground, dirty all over, obviously in such a gloomy and terrifying place. Ronald opened his eyes like a fool, his mouth slightly curled up, as if he was dreaming a beautiful dream that he didn't want to wake up. What happened to him? It's like this when you're under the Imperius curse. Ivan explained, They will feel like they're floating in the air, very happy. But after waking up, the person under the curse will feel that the happiness is extremely empty and thus hate to experience that feeling again. Take him back and give him to Madame Pomfrey. Ivan had not learned the dark magic of the Imperius curse, so he could only use zombie floating to take Ronald back. Back at Hogwarts, Ivan looked for Min as soon as possible. Fortunately, Hermione stayed with Professor McGonagall. Ivan was worried that this was another trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain tonight, using Harry to lure him away and then capture Hermione to coerce him. But now it seems that Voldemort is too confident. He thinks that as long as he can see Ivan, he can take him down with powerful magic. But Voldemort never thought that Ivan had the power to match him and even to defeat him when he was in a bad state. Professor McGonagall, has Principal Dumbledore not returned yet? Not yet. McGonagall learned what happened just now from Ivan. When he heard that Voldemort had returned and had a fight with Ivan, Professor Cat almost suffocated. Are you sure that it was that person who came back? McGonagall didn't want to believe it, but Ivan's words still had weight. At least the professors would not doubt his judgment. It's basically true. Ivan said, "You know my magic power. Although I have some advantages in the magic battle with him, the difference is not big. He is a natural great wizard, and there are only a handful of people who can reach this level in the British magic world today. It's him, no mistake." Snape said, "Even if he turns into ash, I can recognize him." Snape supported himself, and Ivan was still very happy. He can turn into ash or something. "Professor, have you forgotten that Voldemort has been possessed by Professor Quirrell? Where is Dumbledore? The mysterious man is not something we can deal with. Where did he go at such an important time?" Snape was very dissatisfied with Dumbledore's disappearance again, and Ivan told them what Dumbledore said before he left. In other words, Dumbledore will be back in 10 minutes? Looking at the time, Ivan suggested that Snape and McGonagall return to the academy to protect the little wizard. Ivan waited for the headmaster and told Dumbledore about the mysterious man. "Good evening, Fawkes." Ivan walked into the headmaster's office and sat down in Dumbledore's seat very naturally. "Look at this skillful action. You can see this kid's wolfish ambition." Albus has agreed. "I think we should build a good relationship with him. Maybe he will really become the headmaster in the future." The hanging paintings saw Ivan's actions and talked about it. Ivan ignored them and teased Fawkes on his own. Gee, perhaps Ivan was right. His bloodline not only has Merlin, but also the ancestors of the Dumbledore family. Otherwise, Fawkes, a phoenix that is only close to Dumbledore, would get along so well with Ivan. After close observation during this period of time, Ivan found that there are indeed some differences between Dumbledore's phoenix and his own phoenix. First of all, in appearance, both phoenixes are very beautiful, but Fawkes is darker, and Ivan's is brighter. In addition, Fawkes's wingspan is larger, while Ivan's phoenix has 5 beautiful tails. Finally, and most importantly, Fawkes's abilities tend to be healing and defensive, and he does not have the power to strengthen wizards' spellcasting. In contrast, Ivan's phoenix seems to have all its attributes on attack. Ivan can clearly perceive that the magic cast, after using the resonance of the Sycamore wand, is at least 50% more powerful. This is not to say that Ivan has the difference between holding the wand and not being able to cast spells. It is the difference between the two holding the same wand, but the Sycamore Phoenix sleeping and waking up. Old Dumbledore is so slow. Ivan had nothing to do, so he could only take out the high-end spell decryption given to him and read it. During this time, Fawkes flew to Ivan's shoulder, as if he wanted to read with Ivan. They got along harmoniously until clusters of green flames rose from the fireplace. "Ah, I saw such a scene as soon as I came. It's really sad, Fawkes." Dumbledore made a joke, but soon he straightened his face and asked, "What happened?" If nothing happened, Ivan would never wait for him here. "Yeah," Ivan said, "it's Voldemort." Dumbledore was stunned for a moment. He knew Voldemort was not dead, but was he resurrected so quickly? Ivan told Dumbledore everything that had just happened, and when he heard that Ivan could defeat Voldemort, Dumbledore was not very surprised. No one knew Ivan's talent and strength better than Dumbledore. It was nothing for a great wizard cub to defeat a lingering Voldemort. Let me see his condition. After Dumbledore finished speaking, he opened the secret room on the side, revealing a silver basin, which was the meditation basin that appeared in the original book. Okay. Ivan put the wand against his temple and then slowly raised it up. The next moment, Ivan pulled out a strand of silvery white silk thread. For 2 months, Dumbledore did not teach Ivan any black magic, but he did not hide the knowledge of white magic. Whenever Ivan wanted to ask something, Dumbledore would write him a note and let him choose from the restricted books area. The old and the young had a good understanding. Ivan would not try black magic without authorization, and Dumbledore was willing to trust him. On the other side, Dumbledore used the pensieve to watch Ivan's battle with Voldemort up close. What is that? At the end of the battle, Dumbledore also noticed the golden color under Voldemort's hood. Like a crown? Ravenclaw's crown is just a legend. It was taken away and hidden by Ravenclaw's daughter 1,000 years ago. This means that for 1,000 years, no one knows the whereabouts of this crown. Dumbledore has never seen it. Ivan had only seen it in the movie, but he couldn't tell whether the real Ravenclaw crown was real or not. A magic item? Dumbledore walked into Voldemort's shadow and looked at the crown carefully. Even if it was just the influence of memory, Dumbledore could still feel the huge magic contained in the crown. I don't know either, Ivan said, but I guess the reason why Voldemort can exert such power is because of it. No, it shouldn't be. Dumbledore looked at Ivan, and the old headmaster said, Tom's current state is like a lonely ghost. With only a soul, no matter how powerful a wizard is, it is impossible to cast magic. Dumbledore stared at the crown. He seemed to have thought of something, but he couldn't be sure of his guess. Professor, Ivan asked, could it be Quirrell who possessed him? It's still different. In terms of experience and knowledge accumulation, 100 Ivans can't compare to Dumbledore now. Quirrell can only provide vitality for Tom, but the magic power still belongs to Quirrell. In other words, Quirrell, who fought against Ivan, could only play at the level he should have. But looking at the spells cast by Voldemort, even if he was seriously injured, it was still the magic power of the great wizard. Such power is definitely not something Quirrell can have. Dumbledore searched for relevant knowledge in his memory. Gradually, the old headmaster's eyes became brighter and brighter. He seemed to have discovered the secret of Voldemort's recovery of power. Professor, Ivan, you know, Dumbledore was silent for a while, and then he said, since his student days, Tom has been pursuing immortality. And in the magical world, there are more than one way to escape death. Throughout the ages, many brilliant wizards have devoted their efforts to achieve immortality. There are countless kinds of magic developed for this purpose. There are dozens of related magics hidden in the restricted section of the Hogwarts library alone. Are you worried about me? Ivan saw Dumbledore's hesitation and smiled. I think the Philosopher's Stone is great. Immortality. Who doesn't want immortality? But if it's just immortality, Ivan thinks he can follow Nicholas Flamel's example. With Ivan's age and talent, it won't be difficult for him to refine a Philosopher's Stone of his own in the future. Dumbledore noticed this, so he gave the Philosopher's Stone to Ivan for research. You are right, Ivan. Dumbledore smiled apologetically. He understood the meaning of Ivan's words. Voldemort wants not only a long life, but also eternal rule and invincible power. This is different from Ivan's idea. It is right to desire immortality, but people cannot be afraid of death. If you practice for immortality, what is the difference between being driven forward by the slave master named Death from behind? True immortality should be that I want to live, and I live. But if Ivan is tired of living one day, he can go to death according to his own wishes and start another great adventure. Compared with immortality, Ivan wants freedom more. That is a very terrible and evil black magic. Dumbledore and Ivan stared at each other for a long time, and finally decided to tell him the news about the Horcrux. Horcrux, Ivan was not pretending to know. In fact, the Horcrux is a product of translation. In foreign language pronunciation, it is written as Horcrux, a word that does not exist in the Muggle world. Literally, the word Horcrux is a compound word of the French horser, outside, and cruxer, Latin word, cross, destruction, English word, important things. This word means a soul that exists outside the body, so it refers to this kind of black magic. However, Ivan could not have studied the method of making Horcruxes with just this one word. Anyone who has read the original book knows that in order to make a Horcrux, you need to kill a person. But the question is, what happens next? What should be done after killing this person? What ritual is required to make a Horcrux? What is the spell to separate the soul? Even the time requirements, location requirements, and environmental requirements were not revealed in the original book. Tyr the Soul, after listening to Ivan Dumbledore, was very disdainful of the description of the Horcrux. Sorry, Professor. Excuse me, the soul is the most important thing to us. Separate the soul to escape death. Ivan shook his head and said, "This is a very stupid thing in my opinion. If Tom can think like you, maybe he won't become what he is now." Dumbledore was very happy that Ivan could realize this. Death is a great adventure. We could delay its arrival, but that's all. But this is just my speculation. Dumbledore felt that it was very likely to be a Horcrux, but he couldn't be completely sure. Now what we need to do most is to find Tom as soon as possible. This is very troublesome. Dumbledore doesn't know where Voldemort will hide. He is not afraid of Voldemort. With Voldemort's current state, Dumbledore lets him beat him with one hand. But Voldemort is not stupid. He knows how powerful Dumbledore is, and he was defeated by Ivan again. With Voldemort's personality, he might hide somewhere like a maggot on the tarsal bone and keep disgusting them. I may know where Voldemort is hiding. Ivan looked at Dumbledore, and the old man's eyes moved. He asked, "Did you predict it?" Ivan didn't see it, but he didn't mind attributing it to the ability of Prophecy Magus. But before going there, we still need the help of Mr. Savior B. Chapter 74. Secret Chamber, Harry. To be precise, it's Parseltongue. Ivan said, "Headmaster, do you know Slytherin's Chamber of Secrets?" Slytherin's Chamber of Secrets. Ivan's words brought back Dumbledore's memories. Do you know where the Chamber of Secrets is? Yes. No need to explain. Ivan attributed everything to his identity as a prophet. But to open the Chamber of Secrets, you need to use Parseltongue. Hearing this, Dumbledore didn't understand. The person who opened the Chamber of Secrets 50 years ago was Voldemort. As the headmaster of Hogwarts, Dumbledore naturally heard the legend of the Chamber of Secrets. The Chamber of Secrets left by Slytherin has a monster in it, which will purify the dirty blood that has tainted Hogwarts. That is, all the impure little wizards. Take me there, Dumbledore whispered. Although Parseltongue is a rare talent, it can also be learned. Fortunately, I know a little Parseltongue. The old headmaster knows more than just a little. He is a man who masters countless human languages. Professor, you are really knowledgeable, Ivan said, but before going there, I think we still need to make some preparations. I mean, do you know the basilisk? The monster in the secret room is a basilisk. Dumbledore was a little surprised. After all, Myrtle died directly 50 years ago and was not petrified, and there are countless magics that can kill Myrtle. Even Dumbledore would not associate Myrtle's death with a basilisk. The basilisk is a very dangerous magical creature. Legend has it that it comes from a magic egg laid by a 7-year-old rooster when Sirius is in the sky, and then hatched by a toad, 890 Ivan. The eyes of the basilisk have the terrible magic of death. Anyone who looks directly at the basilisk will lose his life immediately. Except the phoenix, because the phoenix will not die. Fox. Dumbledore obviously understood what Ivan meant, and he added Fox. Fox was so happy to see that he was named. It flew down from the guardrail and landed on Ivan's shoulder, happily tidying up its feathers. Fox likes you very much, Van. I have always been liked by small animals. Dumbledore smiled meaningfully. Except for me, I have never seen Fox be so friendly with anyone. Ivan wanted to ask, what are you hinting at, old man? Oh, by the way, there is this. Dumbledore took out a pair of glasses from somewhere and handed them to Ivan. What is this? A pair of magic glasses that can effectively resist the sight of the basilisk. Dumbledore said that as long as you look at the basilisk for no more than 3 seconds, you will not be harmed by magic. The dangerous part of the basilisk is its eyes, so as long as the eye problem is solved, it will be just a larger magical creature. You even have this kind of thing. Ivan believed that Dumbledore, with the old headmaster's experience, must have encountered.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on EuroAudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.